Just a second to make sure all of the technical difficulties are out of the way. All right, we are live. I hope we have a few viewers here in just a second. Go ahead and play the intro video.
The testimony I fell hard, but I'm not gone. Grace found me before the dawn. Pulled me up from down below, set me on my feet, said, "Child, let's go." From the darkness, now I see love has won the victory. If you're listening, lean on me. This is my testimony. This is the testimony. The testimony.
gosh. No. I'm so sorry. I've had the mic off the entire time. That's wild. Do we have anybody in? Okay, we've got 2 viewers now.
Are you sure?
Positive. Look at this. Boom. Oh no. I'm so sorry, everybody. So I've had the mic muted.
You just there you
Yeah.
go.
My apologies, guys. So I'll go through the spiel again. My name's Alex. Welcome to the Testimony Podcast. If you're just now tuning in, sorry for the hesitance and sorry my mic was muted. I apologize about that. But we are doing a very special episode this week. It is something. It's a topic that's really strong on my heart. And if you're just now catching this on the Rumble, follow, like, subscribe. If you're seeing this on YouTube, I'm trying something new. I'm not sure how the live's going to work on YouTube, but the goal is to expand the audience. We have a ton of people tuning in. We've had people from Thailand. I don't know how our video reached a place anywhere across seas, but to be in Thailand for have a video to reach a ringside announcer in Thailand that wants to come on and share his story. So if you're on the Rumble, you're going to see where those missing episodes are. So if you've been wondering on YouTube where episode I think 8 and 9 and I think 11's on YouTube, but a few of the episodes that are not on YouTube are going to be on the Rumble. I will eventually transfer those over, but I got to edit those and get those in. But that's the goal behind this. I want to be able to put these videos out weekly so that y'all have something to listen to, that y'all have just a little bit of hope in the world. If it's just me and I'm the one that's saying it and just telling you that you are enough, that's perfectly fine with me, because you never know how many people need to hear that. But we're doing a different episode, and I'm so sorry because I feel like I've ran through this whole spiel once, and I'll have to edit that out.
Look
But
at my face right there when
oh, that's
found out that
hilarious.
the mic wasn't working.
I wish I could bring the camera over here and show you her face. So I apologize for that. I knew I had something wrong with the mic. But again, though, my name's Alex. Welcome to the Testimony Podcast. This is episode 12. It's a very, very special episode to me. It's a Valentine's episode, and I had to do it a little different. So before we get started, I know you're seeing a new co-host today, and she's a very special lady to me, and this is my lovely, lovely wife. And I've been real hesitant about bringing her on because there's things in life, uh, especially on podcasting, because you're open. There's so many people in the world. Like again, like I just said a while ago, one of our videos reached Thailand. I don't want any flack on her. What she does is a passion to her. She's a teacher. And she loves her job. She gets up every morning, every single morning, and it's never been like a job to her. It's a passion to her. So like even instilling this stuff into the kids early, these kids are stepping into kindergarten, and I say I feel like it's one of the most pivotal grades. It's kindergarten. It's the beginning of when they're first stepping into the school. Whether it was preschool before or whether it's kindergarten now, they're stepping into the school for their first time and kind of having to rely on another parental figure. And that's where my lovely wife gets to step in. She gets to teach these kids and help them grow at the very beginning of it. And I love it because it's nice seeing a passion kind of flourish over the years. And I'm not saying that she just kind of like started and didn't really know what she liked. And from the very first conversation me and my wife ever had, the literal very first conversation we ever had, we stayed on the phone for 4 hours that night. And I was just the rando who was like, "Hey, can I call you?" We just been texting for a few hours. And I was like, I want to call you," because I talk fast and I like to talk, and it was just too much to text. But one of the first things she told me was that she wanted to teach kindergarten. And for her to be able to do that in the school that we graduated from, to be able to help these kids. And, speaking of the kids, and it's laid on my heart now. I feel like it's something I do need to speak about. I don't think I have it much in the lesson or not, but, I feel like the kids are the ones that have to experience all of this the most. So whether your parents are dealing with issues, that's the topic today. Why is the most searched topics of Valentine, not just a Valentine's Day, but marriage in general? Why are the most searched topics about how the marriage is, in a sense, needing repair, not growing? And I get that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So why would a happy marriage be looking for advice? We should all be trying to grow our marriage. Scripture. The goal is to I forget what you say yesterday. Not rebuilding.
Restoration.
Restoration. Your marriage is always going through restoration. Uh, but when I say that, I don't want you to think that I understand why the Google searches are bad, because I don't. I don't, because I'm going to read you a few of them, and this is what I mean. So I go to search, and I was doing my research just like I do every other episode. I'm trying to go through and find other topics so I can bring to light to you. I'm new to all of this. I'm still learning. I want to learn new things every time I do an episode. But whenever we do an episode like this, I wasn't really sure. So I'm trying to find the top marriage topics that are going on today. Any of them. What is going on in today's times that is affecting everybody else in their marriage? What is something I could talk about that's just gonna bring the light to Valentine's Day? And I assumed I would be able to search what are the top marriage topics, and it'd be some wild stuff like we've been married for 30 years. How do we keep growing our marriage? Just little things about how you can rebuild your marriage back up. What are some help tips for a marriage that's based around faith? Like little things that can just help you grow your marriage. But the few that I've seen were how do we fix communication, which means you already feel like your communication between each other is broken. How do we rebuild trust, which means one of you, either one or both, are struggling to have a trust towards the other one. It's lacking right there. 6, 7. But how do we know if our marriage is over? That was the one that stuck with me, and that's the one when it was just like the light bulb clicked, and it's just like I get it. I know what you're trying to tell me to do, God. I 100% understand because all these topics are about fixing something that, in a sense, in their eyes, is broken. When you're married, when you're married, you're one. Scripture says you are one. We are of one. I don't want to make it seem like if you're listening to this and you're already at that point to where you're searching these things that it can't be fixed. I'm trying to bring light to the fact that why is this the main topic of today's marriage is rebuilding it, fixing it. A lot of the other questions were based around like infidelity. How do I fix it? How do I rebuild the trust after infidelity? So it's like all these factors that are involved in not even scriptural marriage, but just in what normalized marriage is nowadays, to where things can fall apart and going to the divorce lawyer and getting a divorce is just so readily available. And I'm not saying you can't get a divorce. There's things going on in your marriage, whether it's abuse, emotional abuse, stuff like that. There's lines that can't be crossed. And the Bible also speaks about other lines that can be uh, scripturally okay with divorce. I don't even know if I threw those in here because some of those are kind of dark. But if y'all don't mind, y'all hear me out. But I haven't had a chance to let her introduce herself yet. But I do got to finish this one thing about the kids before it gets off my mind. But you know, the kids are the first people that see this. So if your marriage is what you feel like is in shambles, if you are arguing all the time, whether you do it behind closed doors or in front of the kids are the first people to see this. The kids are the first people that are going to notice this, and the kids are going to be the first people to let somebody else know. Because I was that kid. I was the first person to go into the school and let somebody ask me what was wrong, even though I might not even tell them. I was going to tell them everything about my life. Like I was going to open up. So like I was around a ton of addiction as a kid. Uh, we've had CPS come to our house because of the things I went to school saying, but it was just because it was so normalized to me. So if you're at home and you're constantly arguing, if you're at home and you think your kid doesn't see the other one hit the other one, the kids notice it all. Even a change in demeanor, a change in the way you carry, like facial expressions, kids see it all. So if you get around your spouse or your partner and your face automatically changes to something of fear or uh, anxiety, the kids are going to notice that. They pick up on that, whether it's the chemical imbalance in your brain that happens, and the kids feel the pheromones or whatever is going on scientifically. The kids pick up on every bit of it, and that's. I wish I had done more about that in the lesson, but it's that's the thing that I have to press on that hard because I carried a lot from my parents that I didn't realize I carried. My dad wasn't around a lot whenever he was in prison, but I carried that with me, even though I didn't think I did. I still carried that with me. And so we're doing an episode over marriage, but not in the way you thought. So I'm looking for a positive Valentine's episode. Didn't know what to do. And all these topics are just so down. But the one topic that I could do is why is this the topic of marriage nowadays? Why is this the topic of marriage? Why is the topic of marriage about rebuilding, fixing, repairing your marriage instead of growing your marriage? And that's why I am not hesitant about bringing this lovely, lovely lady on today because she is the rock to our marriage. Whether she thinks I am or not, I believe she is the one that holds us all together. And it's just because she's always there for me, even though I feel like I'm always positive. I try to be. She's the one that keeps me positive. And I don't mind bringing somebody like that on because if there's anybody that has marriage guidance that can kind of point people in the right direction, it's somebody who I know has to deal with a lot because I have been a whole lot throughout my life. If you've heard my testimony, if you've not, a recovering addict. I used to be addicted to pills. Overcame all of this with the help of her, not on my own. I didn't go through a rehab process. It was basically like her family kind of cherry picking me out of my family and putting me into their grandma's house and was like, all right, you're living with us now. And that one drastic change is what drastically changed my life for the better. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have the life that I do. I wouldn't have the wife that I do. I wouldn't be able to share stories like this. I wouldn't be in the church. And all it took was for one person. She cared a lot. She'd been telling me her whole life, but her grandma, somebody outside who always told me they cared, but to just step up and try to help me, that's all it took. And it took me to change my life. And, I spent a lot of time with that, kind of running away from my family too. Same thing for my sister. All it took was for somebody to tell her she cared, and now she's sober. So God is fantastic. God is good all the time. But if you don't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I've got to do this a second time now because you had us muted. But I am Kaylee Lloyd. I am his wife, and I am thankful to be here, even though I am a little bit nervous. And like I said, I always say talking in front of kids is a lot easier than talking in front of grown-ups. So I am excited to be here, though.
It ain't that bad. I've gotten used to it. If y'all tuned into the first few episodes, then I was definitely nervous. But I'm getting more comfortable now. Part of the reason why I'm doing the podcast is so I could be more comfortable around the things I do. So like one of the topics we're doing here in the future with a few of the guys from Recovery at the Rock and hopefully the guys from Pathway Recovery, but it's over character breakers, but exposure-based growth, where you're constantly putting yourself in scenarios that are anxiety-filled and breaking down the walls of those fears. That way you can have your confidence back. So again, if I ever want to get on stage and preach or minister to anybody, if I want to get on stage and speak and be a motivational speaker for anybody, I have to overcome the fear of actually speaking in front of people. So that's where this gets to come in. I don't have to speak in front of people directly all the time, but on the camera, I again, I didn't realize how many people actually see these videos. So it's pretty neat. Follow the Instagram, follow the link tree, follow all the pages. But this week's topic is over marriage. So it's different for me because our marriage, a lot of people has seen it as hunky-dory, perfect. We are high school sweethearts. We're coming up on 14 years of marriage. If you've seen in the thumbnail that little picture of us with the little heart, my better half, that was a red ribbon week costume that we had back in, I don't know if it was my sophomore year or junior year of high school. But we've been together since high school, and throughout that time, like people always see the entertainment of Facebook. They always follow your life through Facebook, and it's different whenever we were growing up because as a kid, you actually had friends you'd reach out to, write letters to, and the notes and stuff like that. As an adult, it just seems so easy to follow somebody's life through Facebook without actually having to respond and talk to them. And on Facebook, it looks like our marriage is perfect. It looks like our marriage has been fantastic from the start of it. I mean, everything has followed God's plan. I'll say that. Everything has been an absolute blessing. It's been a learning experience. Like even now, we're still struggling with infertility and trying to have a baby. And the thing that hurts me is like I'm one of the last few Lloyds that can put a baby into this world and extend our last name. And it scares me for that. But I know that God's got a plan for us, and I just have to trust that plan. So had I not found ways to do that, trusting in the Lord, trusting in the Word, trusting in little things like this. I've never actually searched up marriage topics. Like I've been real big on communication, and that's the main one that it talks about is losing communication in your marriage. But I'm real big on communication. So if we're ever struggling, and my wife absolutely hates it, because if we're arguing, instead of going back and forth and bickering, I want to get at the point. It's like I'm one of those that like, all right, well, what is the point? What is the main reason why we're arguing? And that's a hard topic because whenever you're trying to tell your wife to stop talking, and she really has something to say, kind of put my foot in my mouth by saying that. But it's whenever you're doing that, you're just trying to. She knows where I stand in argument. Same thing as I know where she stands. She has a point that she wants to get across. I want to get to that point. I want to get to the point. A lot of people might think the same thing when you're hearing one of these podcasts because I ramble a lot. You want me to get to the point. But it's different, So I need to get
To the part one.
all right.
Yeah,
Trying to pull back up my notes. She's helping me, guys.
it's down. Now you went too far.
But if you are tuning in, throw something in the chat. I see a few people hopping in here now. I know it's a little bit later. It's been live for 21 minutes. The first
Right, that's
probably
done.
10 minutes were muted, so sorry.
Yeah.
There we
There you
go.
go.
So that's the one thing. There's a few things I want to talk about, but the one thing that really stood out to me, and we talk about it in recovery all the time, and my wife says they talk about it at school, and she's tried to explain it to me, and I completely get it. And you may have heard it outside of recovery, but it's finding your why. And what is the why in your marriage? Why are y'all together? Why are y'all not happy? Again, like I just said, I like to get at the bottom of things. So like, what is that reason? What is the problem? And if you're having to come to Google to figure out your problem, you're obviously not talking to the right person. Your first step is communication, and you're avoiding that right there and going to another power to find your guidance. That's what scares me about AI. But tune into one of the conspiracy episodes, and we'll talk about that later on with Conspiracy Chaos or Speaking Code, the Big Grambowski, or a few of the other guys that we hop onto Rumble with. But I fear for the future, whether it comes to lack of faith, marriages being so easily dissolved, divorce lawyers out the wazoo. Like it seems like that's the new craze today is divorce lawyers. It hurts because there's people that thrive off of people getting divorced, and it's a sad world we live in. It's such a common occurrence, and little things I get. Like I said earlier, if you're in a situation where it's spousal abuse, emotional abuse, constant issues for the child just between y'all two, it's understandable. But if you don't try to make it work, there was no effort put there in the first place. So like therapy, just trying to talk to each other. If you can't stand each other, there's tips that you can use. But I did put together a few sources. So on this one, did I already pass it?
Yes, go back. You're going the wrong way.
I'm sorry.
Out there.
There we go. But what the search bar reveals about marriage today, that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Another thing is why communication is always the number one fix. I've been saying that since we started this thing, but communication is key. I know y'all have heard that phrase. It is 100% a fact. If you can't talk to each other, how do you expect to be around each other? Unless, I can't make that joke, that'd be mean. But unless neither one of y'all can talk, the nicest way, then I get that. Completely mute marriage. But if you can't, and y'all both have a working vocal cord and are able to speak, and y'all are choosing to not speak to each other, that right there is problem number one. But why trust is always being searched, and why I believe that you can't search up a trick to trust through Google, because trust is built on like honor and repeated instances and repeated actions, and a foundation of positive marriage, a foundation of being open in your marriage. Like I seen a thing the other day about having to hide your phone. If you have to hide your phone from your wife, then you're already in the wrong spot. Like I tell my wife, you go through whatever. I got that's 5, 6 devices now. Like since we're doing the podcast, there's 2 laptops, 3 phones. Like there's so much going on. She can go through any of those anytime she wants to. There's no reason to try to hide anything, because if I feel like I need to hide it, then I probably don't need to hide it, and it's probably wrong. And people ignore things like that. Porn for adults. Sorry if your kids are listening to this, but this is a recovery podcast. But a lot of people come in for like porn addiction. If you have men who are just constantly feeling like that is a okay thing to watch all the time, but scripturally it's wrong all the time. You don't want to lust after anybody, but especially looking at pornography, it's absolutely wrong. But for men that feel like that's their go-to, when you're in a marriage, what are you lacking? Whether it's intimacy, communication, attraction, these little things can be worked on, talked about, communicated between the both of you, but you don't have to resort to these alternatives. That hurts the marriage more than you can imagine. Another one of is, why is divorce always in the conversation? And, even during mine and my wife's spills, even in the struggles we've had, there was a time that decisions of my own, I thought we would have to get a divorce. And it was a rash thought. And that thought lasted, how long that thought lasted? Until we talked about it. Like, until I said, I'm struggling. We've got to figure something out. I was a terrible person in the past. And I'm real big on, if you've wronged somebody, and this is where making your amends comes to a T, but if you're in a recovery service and they talk about making your amends, open up about your past, admitting to your wrongs, taking accountability for the things you've done. So like just telling my wife the terrible person I was throughout not just our entire relationship, but my entire life I was to people that changed me. But she never would have figured out who I really was had I not opened up about that. This marriage, our life would have seemed perfect and hunky-dory like it always has been. But until of us taking the steps to follow through with our marriage, until us actually communicating, and we did communicate beforehand, but I was hiding things. I was not just like literal hiding things, spiritually, emotionally. I wasn't talking to her about everything that I was struggling with. This is during the time before we actually got into recovery, and I was still telling myself I was depressed. Though speaking those words to the Bible speaks different about manifestation. People hold way different weights to that word. But when you speak those things into your life, That's what you're gonna see. So like those people that get up and they're always happy, they're always hype. They're usually the ones getting up saying, "I'm gonna have a good day." Uh, I'm happy. That was a hard thing for me to say. Was I'm happy. I'll tell anybody every day I'm happy in my marriage, but saying that I'm happy was hard. But I had to fix those. Communicating with myself was hard. Now imagine trying to communicate with somebody who, like my wife, I see her as the most perfect being on the planet. Uh, she's my everything. But she is the one person who I know I could go to, but because of how sweet she is, how perfect she was to me, I felt like I couldn't open up about anything in my past. I just out of fear, anxiety, guilt. Like there was so many things blocking me. I thought blocking me from opening up, and literally, it's just me not opening my mouth and speaking. And so if you're taking those times and you're already at the point of googling should we get a divorce, what is it gonna hurt to go talk to your spouse? Like, what is the worst that's gonna happen? Like, if I'm already all right, babe, I want to get a divorce. If we're already at that point, and you're typing into Google, just turn to your spouse and say, I want to get a divorce. Do you think this is okay? Scripture says it's wrong. I feel like it's wrong because you're not trying. I'm 100%, I'm big on effort. That's why I beat myself up every day for not being able to post clips and everything every day, but I'm trying. I'm running so many socials, but I like effort. I love effort. Uh, she's going to talk about love language here in just a second, but one of the love languages that I like is effort, the trying. My wife, she does so much for me, even though she doesn't think about it, but little things like just making sure my clothes are dry in the morning whenever I have work and I run late and little things like that. She makes it a point to make sure that I'm okay. Just like I try my best to make sure it's a point to make sure she's okay all the time, even if I don't understand. And that's I usually could say stuff like this because she's not sitting in here. But like, yeah, it's hard to get your wife to understand your side sometimes. Just like a lot of the times we don't understand what y'all got to say. I, I get it. I've been there. But I try my best to understand. It's just like I said, I'm real big on getting to the point. So like, you hear the whole spiel of how the day's been, and I'm trying to figure out why you're upset, and you're telling me about all the other stuff that's not made you upset. So like, I'm telling me. But you have to get through the communications. Like I know how my wife responds to things. She knows how I respond to things. She knows how I talk to her. She knows what we need to talk about whenever we're struggling. Like even this, I started this thing back in the summer. Felt like God was leading me to do this. Didn't have an idea as to which route this thing was going to take. And for now as an adult, I know that it's going to pan out the way it's supposed to. And I know that sounds cliche to say, but the way God is working in this thing, there's people reaching out to me that I never thought possible. Next month, we're filming with Downtown TJ Brown. We have another guy coming on. He's actually in charge of what they call the End Days Militia, which is it sounds wild, but the way he gets around the government is because it's called the End Days Militia. He's not building for a revolutionary war or a war to go on right now. He's building for the war at the end of times. So he's able to stockpile all this stuff, but he was also raised in a cult. So like there's ways to hear people's testimonies. And he's gave his life over to Jesus Christ, and he has full faith that the Lord's going to change his life. And he's just waiting for that time because he felt like God told him that he was going to fight in the end days battle. And that's what he's preparing for. But we have people like that want to reach out, share their story, share their testimony of what they know can flourish. So like even now, he's growing this like the End Days Militia is some big following now. But there's also people in there. There's so many people in there that are planting that seed for faith. Like regardless of what they're like the militia, people hear that and just think crazy revolution. But when you think about the seeds that are being planted, this guy has a strong faith. He's planning for the end of the days. And whenever revelation happens and like people say the rapture, whenever stuff like that is going to come to a head, he believes God told him that he's going to be part of that end days battle. So he's preparing for that. So all these people have the seed that's planted that God's going to help grow their lives. So bringing these people on, that's why I'm hesitant about bringing my lovely wife on. I don't want any of these people to cause conflict with her. But without y'all sharing these, without liking y'all liking these posts, without y'all listening in, like even I don't know if it's just 2 on Rumble or on YouTube, and I can't see how many is on YouTube, but I know we have quite a few tuning in, and it's pretty neat. We can share these stories. We can plant that seed. Your marriage, if you are struggling with your marriage, I'm hoping that this episode is something that can touch you, and in any positive way, whether it's just a little bit of guidance. So like a few of those people, and these are a few sources. I have not read all of these books. The research that I've done, I've been able to pick little sources out from the books and little excerpts that I've been able to take away from it. But I'm going to point you all in the direction. So, like, if you're struggling with infidelity, if you're struggling with spousal abuse, emotional abuse, a flawed marriage, if you want to call it that, if you just feel like you're struggling, these are a few of the authors you can look up to. But uh, Dr. John Gottman, Gary Chapman, Sue Johnson, Tim Keller, Gary Thomas, Janice Spring, and Shirley Glass. So these are the few of the people that I was just trying to do research, and they were the ones putting out these marital help books, anything that's helping the marriage grow. So I want to give you all a few of those quotes in my own words, so that way we don't get copyrighted, because we've had it happen before, and I want to make sure that this thing is legit the entire way through. I don't want this thing to get pulled before somebody who's in a struggling marriage needs to hear it. So uh, I'm just going to reiterate it the best I can. But the search bar is basically a window into the soul of society. The fact that the top searches are about fixing tells us something. Most couples aren't entering a marriage with tools; they're entering a marriage with wounds. And that's a topic that hurts, because a lot of the people in marriages are just throwing that band-aid over the wound after it's occurred, instead of trying to talk about it before you even get hurt. Why did it become a wound? Why did it have to become an issue? If you communicate early, you don't have to worry about those things. Communication is key, and you've probably heard that 1,000 times. A therapist will tell you that when you go in there for the first time for marital counseling. But it's key. You have to talk. Like right now, my wife hasn't said a word, and I haven't really let her say a word. So I know y'all are probably waiting on that. But communication is key. So I'm trying to get these points across before I let her get in here, because she has a lot of good guidance. But I got to give you all the basis of it. So, like, if I'm trying to teach you a dictionary, or a word that's in the dictionary that none of us know, I have to give you the definition. So, like, these little things, like the why, it's your purpose. What is the purpose of the marriage? Your amends, trying to fix any problems you feel like you caused, or any struggles that are holding you back from somebody else. Making those amends, apologizing, telling people you forgive them, little things like that. Accountability, realizing that you and your actions make an impact on people. Like, my actions made a bigger impact on my wife, even when I thought I was hiding them. Even if you think they don't know, they still make an impact. You have to be communicative. Is that a word? Did I say that right? If that's not a word, you have to talk to each other. It's okay. I'll make up my own words for it. Perfectly fine. But they're entering these marriages with wounds. Marriage today has turned into an emergency room. People don't invest until it's bleeding. And uh, honestly, well, what do you think about that?
So I was going to say a big thing that I think is that when you have not truly healed yourself, and then let's say that your partner or your spouse is not healed either, and we all carry, traumatic things or baggage, I guess. And when I carry that in there into the relationship, and you carry that into the relationship, trying to find one, a way to communicate, and then also two, just trying to find a way to heal. If I'm not healed and you're not healed, we definitely are, the relationship is not healthy, I guess is the word for it. And for me, I think, I want to make it clear, if your marriage is struggling or if you have any issues going on, please find intervention some way, communicate, talk to a therapist, go to church. We talked big about church in general. But if you are struggling in any way, yes, please reach out. But also, before it gets to that point, I think prevention is also a big part of it, because preventing the issues instead of just slapping band aids on it will help you in the long run.
Absolutely. Now, like she said, pointing yourself in the right direction. So if you know you are struggling and you just want to go to open therapy, and I call it open therapy because, in a sense, it's free. You may have to show your face at a place, but it doesn't really mean anything, because a lot of these places are what you see here, what you hear here stays here. It's confidentiality and anonymity are the biggest things at these programs. So, like, we have this lovely program on the board. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but Path of Recovery. That's where we get to help at. And when I say recovery, a lot of people assume addiction, and I say this in every episode, but recovery is across the board. So if you're struggling with literally anything, we was at a recovery service last week. I'll share my testimony, and they did a thing called birthday chips, where they came up and they were celebrating. Again, like I said, it's across the board. You're allowed to get chips for whatever you're recovering from. But these people were getting chips for things you would not imagine. Weight loss. One of them, I forget what was the other one. There was another one that stood out to me. But weight loss is one of them, and I've never thought about
Just basic health problems in general.
over better in their health. But these are things that they're trying to recover from. So eating bad foods, eating, again, I've been on conspiracy. I'm in groups with conspiracy podcasters, so I'm real big on like GMOs and these little things like that are pushed. Conspiracy episode. But these little things like you're putting into your body, you don't realize how much of an effect they have on you. So like I was saying earlier about me saying that I'm depressed. Had I not stopped saying I'm depressed, I would still be depressed. If I'm telling people I have a bad marriage, for one, they're gonna assume I have a bad marriage, but what are we gonna have?
A bad marriage.
Thank you. It makes no sense. But if I tell people I have a perfect marriage, a lot of the times they're gonna look at me and not believe it because I have yet to. Well, I say that I have seen one perfect marriage. But again, that marriage, that's just off of my sight,
Right.
not compared to what the actual marriage was. My grandma and my granddad it was such a different type of relationship. Uh, they were around, they held hands until they passed away. Like even when my grandma did pass away, my granddad was by her side praying for her till the ambulance got there. So like I've seen what I would assume a perfect marriage, but I promise you, Mama Joyce, my grandma, she could tell numerous times as to when it wasn't. Numerous. Like I've heard stories about my granddad being a boxer and stuff back in the day. It's like there's no telling what he actually went through, but on the outside, it seemed perfect. But when we were around the kids, I never seen them argue. Now I did see him kind of get loud with my grandma a few times, and also she's smaller than him. I've known them when they were older looking, and she was an older woman, but she'd put her foot down and she'd make everybody shut up, like that. So they know how to communicate with each other. They know their stopping points, their breaking points, what's going to get each other to stop and listen. With my wife, hers is just kind of like basically telling me to stop, telling her to stop and get to the point and just let me finish talking because my point's coming, but I have to fill in the blanks. And a lot of the times, I don't want to say all the time, because there's a few times where, the point, you could have just got to the point. But a lot of the times, the stuff that she's trying to get through, the meat of the conversation is what I really need to hear. A lot of the times when you're struggling in your marriage, the part that people completely push out is the meat of the conversation. What's really the problem? Why are we just going out to dinner but not talking? Why are we talking only at dinner and ignoring each other in the car at home? Like, why are we not sitting in the same room whenever we get to the house? Why are we not talking to each other? Why do we not talk to each other throughout the day? And I get it. Work is a big factor for that. Again, my wife's a teacher. I'm a spray tech. So like if I'm spraying in the middle of doing a pass, like I can't stop the sprayer until I get to the end of the pass. So if something's going on, I can't answer the phone. But you have to know when you can and can't talk to each other. But that doesn't mean it has to be all the time.
And I want to chime in on that. Just, I think it's those little things that start out small and then over time they turn into bigger problems. And sometimes you don't even see it or realize it. But I think taking the time to stop and slow down and talk to your spouse and find time for each other. Because, like you said, life is busy, work is hard, all of those things, but you've got to find time to talk. I can't imagine a car ride without talking to you. I mean, we both love to talk. If that's not evident, so do you. And you always talked about me. But definitely, like, finding time to talk to each other, whether it is just in the car, whether it is just a quick check in, you have to make time to talk about anything, about your day, about what's going on. Because once you talk about those little things, then you'll feel more comfortable to open up about the hard things.
So what she said is some really good points. And if you heard it on a few of my guest appearances, then you'll probably already know what's coming. But she gets one rubber chicken.
Now that was way too long.
Sorry, it's a really big rubber chicken.
You just need one small squeeze.
But really good point. Tune in to the podcast. I really don't know how loud that is on the speaker, so if it's really loud on your end, I apologize. But whenever somebody makes a really good point, I give them a rubber chicken because it's good advice. And whenever you hear a rubber chicken, it's not all the time. It is random. You know the sound of it. It's very distinct. So whenever it happens, I assume whatever's said before that is going to stick. Little psychology tip.
That question up there about the marriage culture.
One of the questions, but
I didn't know if we wanted to get into all that.
How much time we got? We're at 42, yeah. What do you think has changed about marriage culture? So I have a layout. I don't know any of the answers from my wife for this. I just know what to ask, and then I get to hear her give her spiel. So this is new to me, just as it is to y'all. So you're gonna hear a real life conversation between the both of us about this, because I want y'all to see and to hear actual communication. These are topics that me and my wife have not talked about before. But what do you think has changed about marriage culture, today's marriage life?
So I think it's two things. I think just even talking about your grandparents, it was a totally different time. I think phones and access to media and all of that is a huge issue, just not even with marriage, just with us as a society, as far as not being in tune with people. There's a lack of connection there. We want everything so fast. We have such easy access. Like even you were talking about the porn issue earlier. Like we are accessible to everything we want at the end of our fingertips. You know, we can get anything we want, and I think that creates that division, that disconnect.
Okay, so I hate to cut you off, but she did make a point. So I gotta say something. If you're around a dude and he's trying to keep his phone down, if his phone's upside down, he is probably a clown because he's trying to hide something. Like it didn't make sense. Like if I'm sitting next to my wife, why would I hide my screen? For one, she's gonna see it or feel it vibrate anyways. But it's just the matter of if you're trying to hide things that are like your phone, it's around you all day, every day. It's accessible. It's gonna be in your pocket or your hand at all times. If you're having to hide that from your spouse, you're already in the midst of doing something wrong. So like porn, these little things like that people just assume is normal, and it's just because it's so readily accessible. It doesn't make it normal. It's
Right.
accessible. So like cheating, infidelity, just because it's accessible, just because it's a possibility, just because it seems normal, does not mean it's okay. There's now I can't speak for Mormons. I don't I don't know enough about the religion. I don't know why they follow the multiple spousal thing, but in a sense, I can't understand it unless somebody else from them speaks up about it. I've never done my research, but that's what we're doing right here. We're trying to open up people's eyes, open up people's ears to communication with your spouse. So if you're tuning into the live, if you listened to from the beginning, I apologize about the first 10 minutes. My fault. I had the mic muted, and that was all on me. There was no technical difficulty other than me pressing a button and not pressing a button. So that's completely on me, and I'm sorry about that. But other than that, this entire episode, it's nice because I love the way they pan out. I always put a layout out, and then I just get to talking, and then I let the spirit work through me. But metaphorically, we do pray before we do things like this, but I have to I like to make it known when I feel like God's working through me. So like the kid thing, that was not on my layout, but I do know that the kids see everything. Mentioning that my wife is a teacher was kind of on the layout, but mentioning that she does it because it's a passion and not because it's a job, I didn't really, expect to mention all that. But it's just the way that I see things. It's the way I feel like God's leading this thing. And for like us talking about communication, a lot of the people that don't talk to their wives, like I've been around couples, people that were close to me, people that were close to me, and they were coming to me for their therapy. I'm not in the relationship. I mean, I I'm not into monogamy. Or is it monogamous? What's the polygamy?
It's polygamy
I'm not into polygamy. Like
when you're in multiple.
multiple, yeah.
Yeah,
So fun fact, if you didn't know that, monogamous is whenever you're like,
just one.
well, just one relationship. Polygamist is when you're with multiple relationships. And I know people of all fact. I actually know people in polygamous relationships that are happier than people that are in monogamous relationships. And mindset is a big thing. I would assume that the people that are happy in those polygamous relationships communicate with each other. That a lot of people that are in monogamous relationships lack, try not to do. That's what these people were going out of their way to both communicate with me as if I'm the therapist instead of talking to each other. Instead of talking to each other. Now, I feel like I do have a lot of good guidance. I think I'm a wise owl. But my wisdom means nothing. And we say it in recovery all the time. My advice worked for Alex. I can't promise it'll work for you. My wife's advice can work for Kaylee, but I can't promise it'll work for you. Uh, the thing that I love about the podcast, though, is like even in the comments, even in the TikToks and the Instagram clips and all this other stuff, those comments make a difference to me because I can read those. I can reflect and grow. You're communicating with me. I'm learning. Without hearing those things, I'd never know. I think after the first episode, I had a buddy call me and tell me everything sounded scripted, and I was like, man, I just tried to put something together, and half of it was kind of scripted. I wanted to make sure I put out a quality episode, and it was like maybe C minus quality, but it was a quality episode. It wasn't below F. That's all that mattered. We got it out there. But we try to put out quality, just like you should have quality in your marriage. So, like me going through the time to make sure I put out an episode for y'all. Make that time to talk to your wife in the day. Like, man, I was so hurt the other day. I was so hurt. We were both busy. She had conferences. It was the season starts back, so weeds are starting to grow. If you haven't heard me on the last few podcasts, I'm the weed man in the positive way. I make sure your yards have no weeds. I don't grow weeds. The goal is to keep the weeds from growing. So that's my job. But I'm out there and the season's starting. I'm out there spraying all day. My wife's at conferences. She don't get home until about 7:30, 8 o'clock that night, and I had to work on the laptop, edit some videos. So I'm in there on the laptop. I'm in the office studio. I'm in our future kids' room. I'm speaking it. Y'all have heard me say it on guest appearances, but I'm speaking it to existence. This will be our children's room whenever the time comes, and we are blessed with that. But for now, it's the studio. So I'm in here in the studio. She gets home late.
Pass, smooth out.
I had another guy. We had a guest appearance on Conspiracy Chaos and Speaking Codes. We was just in the studio the whole time. So about 11:30, I go in there. She's asleep. And we kissed each other that day. I told her I loved her multiple times. We talked here and there a little bit, but to me, it felt like we didn't talk at all that day. I felt like I didn't even see you, and I slept next to you that night a bit. Like I literally slept next to you that night, but I felt like I did not see you at all that day. But that's because our lives, our relationship is based around being around each other. I'm not saying that in the fact that we're stuck up each other's butt all the time. I'm saying that in the fact is she knows what's going on in my life. I know what's going on with her. So if there is a problem, we communicate that. If like that to me felt like a problem. So the next day I even told her, I felt like we didn't get to see each other yesterday.
And you said you were sad, and then that made me sad because I was like, but I think that's part of it too. Is like when life really does hit, when things start to get real, stress and other things that you're dealing with, you've got to be able to take the time and work on that and still find time to talk to each other, and just even voicing something that might seem so small
Man,
like that, just to tell me like you basically missed me because I was asleep, you were busy, I was at conferences because we were busy. That's just part of life. When you do have like when we do have kids, it's going to be a whole new season of our life that we'll have to navigate together, but we're still going to have to talk. And I think that's a big thing too, is just like as a couple you go through different seasons of your life as well, and you have to find a way. Like love is great, love is the foundation, but you got to learn each other, learn who you are in this season of life, and find a way to communicate through all of that. But yeah, I was so sad that you were sad, but I'm just glad you took the time to even tell me that. Like, we didn't even talk yesterday. The fact that we're at this point in our marriage to say that is an amazing thing. And I want to be clear, like, there was a time when we probably wouldn't even have realized that, had enough,
well,
I
it's
don't know
just
what the word is, wisdom to even realize that, okay, that is an issue because we want to talk to each other. We want to be around each other's presence.
I think we would have just ignored it.
Yeah.
I think we would have just ignored it. I've done that a lot. Like,
Is it working? I was making sure.
yeah, I'm trying to pull it up on YouTube,
Okay.
make sure it's, yeah.
No,
I know
mom.
it's late. I know a lot of you are probably at dates. So if you're tuning in this later, if you're on the ride home, I hope that y'all had a very, very safe trip. Um, I'm not really sure how to go back to the beginning and cut off half of me talking to myself. I can do that on YouTube. I actually, since this is live on YouTube, I don't think I'll be able to. But you can just fast forward until you see my wife's face kind of drop when I say that the mic's not working. Uh, but she's talking about communication, and one of the things that I pulled up, and I thought it was pretty neat. So like with these books, so like the one by John Gottman, it talks about these little rules and tips and things you can use in your marriage to help it grow. Like my wife, she told me one that I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it, but she told me one that one of the ladies that she works with kind of gave her advice, and she's giving me daggers. I'm not gonna say it because it's
Oh,
pretty
I know what
wild,
you're talking about.
but it's being just rebuild the intimacy with your spouse.
Yeah.
What would be the lightest
I
way
would
to call
just
it?
say that,
Well, how many days? Just how many days was it? Tell me that in a row.
it might have been years. Oh, you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Basically, for just a little bit of backstory, is
No.
I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say,
Okay.
just look, I'm just going to say intimacy is a big thing, and there are different forms of intimacy, obviously, in a marriage. Like we just talked about, one of them was talking, like us not talking because we were asleep or busy or whatever. But other ones, of course, obviously, elephant in the room is sex, and this person was needing some advice on some things, and there's obviously some tip out there to basically go a week
Was it
7 days in a row.
7 days?
I
I thought it
think.
was 30 days.
Well, maybe. I mean, if you want to go for 30 days in a row, that's fine too. I mean, definitely. I don't know. Just basically,
Well,
sometimes you have to put in effort
let's
on
just
both
okay. We'll
parts.
help the men out with that one. We're gonna say it's a 30-day rule, and
Oh my gosh.
well, what it is to rebuild the intimacy back in your
Yes.
relationship. So like same thing with the couple that was talking to me. It's not that they weren't intimate, they just weren't communicating. But like they lacked intimacy because they lacked communication. So like when one of them's struggling or one of them wants to talk to the other one, when the other one wanted just to be intimate, it became such a hassle because they're completely skipping the first step,
Yeah. It
ignoring the
shouldn't
emotion
be
beside it.
chores at
Oh my
all.
gosh, yes, exactly. Your
And
marriage, nothing in your marriage should be a chore. Like
right.
me, it was not. It's not a chore to talk to my wife. I felt so sad. We were in the house together. I was back here streaming with another guy on the live for an hour and a half. But whenever I go back in there and I see her asleep, I'm sad about that. We communicated throughout the day, but I feel like we missed that vital point of what we usually do is just interacting with each other, talking. How was your day? I didn't get a chance to ask that. She's in conferences. Even when she gets home, she's still doing conferences on the phone. So like, I'm missing. I'm missing those aspects that we had in our marriage. So like things I don't even notice. Spending literal a few minutes just asking how our day was.
we
When
didn't
you
get to do any of that.
and when you don't have that, it's
Isn't
just
that
like,
sad?
man, I was sad. But even then, as an adult man, a lot of guys should have to tell their wife that they're sad. I dealt with depression for so long because I didn't want to talk about my problems, especially the lady who cared the most about my problems. Like if I'm hurting, why would I not go to my wife about it? But if I'm hurting, why would I not go to my girlfriend about it? I'm not saying I have one now. I'm saying if you're not married. But point being, if you have that significant other, if you have a girlfriend, a wife, a close friend that you like, Steve Urkel and Laura. If you're Steve Urkel and you just need to talk to somebody, go to Laura. If you're Laura and you need somebody to talk to, she knows she can go to Steve and know that he's going to listen to every single word and give her as much advice as he can. But they know that they have a point of communication they have to cross. They got to talk to each other. You got to talk to each other. So, like John Gottman, he gives a rule. It's called the 5-in-1 rule. But one of the leading marriage researchers teaches that thriving couples are not perfect, they're repair rich. And one of his most famous findings is the 5-1 ratio. So, healthy couples have 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative one. That means encouragement, gratitude, affection, laughter, checking in. And sometimes marriage doesn't need a miracle. It just needs more small kindness. So, like the small little I love yous, the small little walking up behind them and giving them a hug, the small little of saying, you care. Just tell them you care. Watch how the mood changes. I care about you. If it's been months since you've said that, then you're already on the downward spiral of what you should be doing. You're probably already Googling things that you need in your marriage when you should really just be communicating. You should really be talking to your spouse. You should really be talking to your pastor. Going to the people that you know can help you benefit and grow in your relationship. Study the word. I can't preach that enough. I can't put it in your hands. I promise you've had a Bible handed to you. If it came time for judgment day and you was like, man, I ain't read my Bible in years, but you've had multiple people hand them to you, how do you know it wasn't God placing them in your life to hand you his word for you to read it whenever you needed it? If you don't read it when you need it, you won't read it whenever you have to. And if it comes down to the time of judgment and you just didn't pick it up because you didn't want to, I promise you it's going to look a little different for you than heaven. So it's a scary scenario. It's like even me, I set alarms throughout the day for me to pray. And I look at it like this because I'm real big on holding myself accountable. If I don't pray, then something happens. I fall off the sprayer, I get hit in the head with a golf ball, like something at work happens and I die that day. And I skip those alarms. I'm too busy to pray, God. I'm sorry. That right there. I'm too busy to pray. That you're not too busy for a priority.
Hmm.
I'm never too busy to ask my wife how she is. Like the other day when she was asleep, I could have woke her up and asked her how her day was. That would cause argument.
Yeah.
You have to know when to interact. But like then, if you don't communicate, you don't know.
Yeah.
Again, there's 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative. And you know what? A lot of people remember, and that's probably why they're going to Google for all this, is because the negative sticks around a lot longer than the positive when there's so much positive. So if you're in a happy marriage all the time, there's always good stuff. If you're around happy family, if you're always at events, if you're always just on the hustle and bustle of your marriage, you might miss all the encouragement, gratitude, affection, laughter, and just checking in on each other. And strictly stick to that one negative thing that happened. one story, and I'll let Kaylee share a little bit about this. We were on, I forget which anniversary, year 2 or 3. We were in Hot Springs. We went to the Purple Cow, and if y'all have never heard of it, they have like purple milkshakes and stuff. And we get up, and I had been frustrated for the past few days. We were kind of running low on money. I was working in a place that I absolutely hated. It was wearing me down mentally, emotionally, and I was taking it out on her. Not physically, but she'd want to talk. I didn't want to talk. I'd bottle everything up. She'd want to talk to me, and I'd just be irritable, mean. Like, I just shut up. I don't want to talk. Well, why am I like that? It's because of the things I'm not talking to her about. But we're in the Purple Cow, and something as simple, something so simple. And then looking back on it, I'm embarrassed now because there's no telling what the waitress thought. She probably thought I beat on you, like. But it frustrated me so bad because we bring our drinks. Kelly got a water and knocked her water over. Nothing bad. It was water. Wasn't Coke. Wasn't nothing that could stain. Didn't even get on me. Like, it got on my shoes and my socks. My socks was a little wet. That was it. But spilled water, and because everybody in there looked at me, now I'm embarrassed. I was mad. I was furious, frustrated. Like, wasn't saying anything, but I'm mad. So mad that the waitress comes to me and tries to like give me like, it's not that big of a deal, it'll be okay. Basically, like, I'm I'm visually showing that I'm upset about spilling an accident, and it to other people that are on the outside of that probably just see that as just, for one, we don't communicate. I'm this mean person who's just going to be upset about everything. Nobody knows what goes on at home, so they see the outside of it. So like the same thing with them kids, the kids who are at home. Imagine what they see. These people were in a restaurant. The waitress had never seen us before us walking in. To her, didn't probably think twice about our conversation or ordering or anything until the water got knocked over, and I'm sitting there not saying a word, but I look so frustrated. I visually look so frustrated, angry. I look just mad, so mad that it's noticeable enough that the waitress wanted to point something out about it. And the kids see that. If you think the waitress of all people will notice that, you can't tell me the kids don't see that. You can't tell me the people that are around you don't see that. You can't tell me that your spouse don't see that. And those are the things that you got to work on. My wife was trying to talk to me about this, and I was so irate about a stupid cup of water that I was just, and I was real prideful. I didn't want to be wrong, but I'm going to ask her the question. I've yet to ask her about that because we just kind of brushed on and went to play putt putt. But when I was being that way towards you, what did that feel like to you? When I was after I knocked, or you not, I don't remember who knocked the water. After the water was knocked over, and there was literally nothing going on other than it being cleaned up, and we're sitting there trying to eat. What did it feel like for you? Because I wasn't talking to you at all.
Yeah.
I was being prideful. I had nothing to say. I was embarrassed because we spilled
Yeah.
water. But what
I
did that
think
feel like to you?
it's embarrassing too on the other end because I think nobody wants to talk about marriage being messy or having problems. It's like almost easier to put on mask and pretend like everything's okay than admit that you have a problem in your marriage, and it's okay to get help with that. And so at that point, we are, I think it was like year 1 or 2, we wasn't communicating that great. And we have been together since high school, but we still, like, again, there's different seasons of your life where you grow through, and then finding out like into adulthood and like money issues and all those stuff that comes with marriage. Well, in that moment, like, you were in a place where you were not healed. You were in a place where you didn't want to talk. You were at a bad job. So those things that you're dealing with come out and explode on others. And when that happens, okay, one, it's embarrassing for me, but it also like ruins the rest of the day, is how that was. Even though we went and played putt putt, which we love, and by the way, anytime we go on any trip, we look for all putt putt things because that's kind of our little date thing that we always do. And I love putt putt, but in that moment, even though we're going to do something fun, it wasn't that fun anymore because in my mind, I'm just thinking of, okay, like, what is causing this explosion? And that's how people get in any relationship. When you get to the point where you're not communicating effectively and all you're doing is bottling it up or lashing out, it's coming from a place of not healed and coming from a place where there is, I mean, there's different types of communication. That doesn't mean that it's healthy. I'll say that because that was a form of communication. It was not a healthy one though. And so I'm thankful to not have that anymore, to where we can talk about it, to where a glass of water isn't going to send you into orbit. You know what I'm saying? But it really is true. I mean, again, I see it with kids I teach with, like you said earlier. You never really know what somebody's going through, and all we see is the outside picture. And so when somebody is dealing with something, You've heard this probably 100 times. We said in recovery, hurt people hurt people. And so when you are not healed and you're dealing with all these things internally and you're not talking about it and you're not getting help, and I'm your wife, the closest person should be to you, I'm your family, and you're not talking to me, how can we help and how can we grow? And so I think that's the whole point of this episode is just, I want to make it clear it is okay to repair your marriage, but why does it have to get to those points before we're willing to like talk about it? And I think there is like a level of like shame and feeling of like, let's not even bring up the fact that marriages are falling apart. And they are. People are dealing with that every day. And people don't want to step up and say, I have an issue. I don't know if it is shame, embarrassment, or they feel like they're too far gone, but God can restore all things. And we'll talk about that too in a little bit. But
Well, I mean, like even like she's saying that though, like there's fear there, and I completely get it. Like even with my wife getting on here, and it's two completely different scenarios. Like I've been on the camera for the past 6 months. I've gotten quite accustomed to it. I feel like I do pretty well at talking on the screen now. But bringing her on, you can still I can still feel those nerves for her and the anxiousness. And it's just because of those the surroundings she's around. She's not doing this all the time. I haven't been doing this that long, but I'm slowly growing more comfortable about it. So imagine never talking to your spouse. Imagine not being around them, not even communicating at all. You just have this wall built up. You might be married. You might just be in a relationship to where you're boyfriend or girlfriend, fiance, whatever. You might be in a scenario where you're not talking to each other. You're not responding when they do talk. You're ignoring all of the emotional aspects that you need, ignoring all the different languages. But it boils down to, like, again, we talked about it a while ago, but communication, building up those walls of trust. But imagine, put yourself in the shoes of that, and now imagine walking up to that person and saying, you haven't spoken, just again, you haven't talked to them. You don't talk to them. Imagine you don't. And you just imagine how awkward and embarrassing or just that feeling you'd have walking up to them and saying, hey, I think our marriage is on the verge of falling apart. So like I get. That's why I was saying earlier. I kind of I can point it out later, but I kind of understand why people go to Google for these things. If you've never communicated, it's going to be super hard to communicate. It's going to be super hard to ask those questions because you never know how they're feeling. Like my wife, she's always so happy. I did not want to tell her about my problems because I was afraid it would bring her down. Like one of the teachers calls her Snow White, and it's like it's just because she's so bubbly. And then you have me who I don't think there's like a nice way to say it. I have RBF, so I have this constant anger look on my face, even though I might be happy. I might have just got done singing. I don't want to do it,
please don't.
but again, I might have been singing Al Green or like one of the old hymns, Battlefield, just little things like that. And then you see me, and I got stone face, like I'm angry looking. That's just how my face is. But you got somebody like my wife who's always happy, always looks positive, always trying to be positive. Imagine how I felt going to her and say, hey, not just that I've messed up, but I feel like I was an awful person to you. Even though I felt like we've had this perfect marriage, everything's going good, I felt like I had done you wrong. I was taking accountability. I was opening up, being vulnerable, which is a lot
Yeah,
of
that's what I was
things
going to say is vulnerability.
men
It's
don't want to do
big.
that. I get it. We're men. We're strong. You're not going to open up about anything, but being vulnerable with your wife, of all people, your wife. Like it literally took until us getting a dog for me to talk in a childish voice around my wife, like, "Oh, come here, little puppy dog." Like, it took until us getting a dog for me to do stuff like that. But imagine how I felt the first month that we had the dog, and I wanted to do that. Like, you know how you talk to dogs whenever you're by yourself. Like, oh, come here, little puppy dog. But I'm so scared to do that around my wife because it's embarrassing. I'm being vulnerable. I'm opening up to this side of me that she's never seen me talk to a dog like that. But until I actually open up and do that, you never know. You never know how you would respond. You never know how they'll respond to it. So again, just that fear you have of like, oh, I don't know how it would turn out. I don't know how she's gonna feel if I tell her that I think the marriage is broken. I don't know how he's gonna feel, especially if it's somebody who does and struggles with like a spousal abuse from a man who's gonna be rage ridden if he hears something like this. You never know how they're gonna respond. But again, if you're trying to fix your marriage, you can't expect the question to ask itself. If you're trying to get to the point of it needs repair, if you're at the point of it needs repair, and you're trying to get to the point of we want to fix this, you never know if you don't ask. So you have to break out of your comfort zone to do these things. You got to change the way you speak to them. Like Gary Chapman, he talks about love languages. I think you was actually talking about this before I even pulled up this information. But if you do, you want to talk about it first before
Yeah, I
or
could.
I'll give Gary
Yeah,
Chapman's. spiel on it, but Gary Chapman wrote the first five love languages, and in my own words, I've changed it up a little bit, but his message is you can love your spouse deeply, but speak it in the wrong languages. Some people feel, but you can love your spouse deeply, but speak it in the wrong language. So I could love her as much as I want, but I'm not showing it in a way that she understands. Like again, words, time, touch, service, and gifts. Words, time, touch, service, and gifts. Those are the love languages. Words, just speaking affirmation to your wife. I love you. I care about you. Little things like that. Time, making effort to put a time aside to spend time with your wife. That's my thing. I'm really big on time. Like my love language is time. If you've heard my testimony, I've lost a lot of my family. That I don't mean like distance. I mean death. Like they're gone. Like I've lost my nephew, my dad, granddad, like aunt, grandma, uncles, like all the family that was around me, a brother that I didn't know I actually had until after my dad passed away. So I've lost all these people in my life, and I've realized one thing, that time is the most important factor in anybody's life. Like I think I think it's 84,000 something plus seconds in a day. And I imagine at those seconds, if I could give you $1 for every one of those seconds, like I value time like I do money. I don't, again, money holds no weight in a heavenly realm, but you have to be able to afford things to live a normal, functional life. So again, the way the world's going, and conspiracy episode, the government's kind of crashing everything. We're all broke. I feel like we are, but and not literally, but they're trying to break us in a way to where we're all working overworked and underpaid. But with that being said, it's that same feeling on your marriage. It's overworked, underpaid. There's no effort. So much time's going into it. You're spending all this money and effort to go on these extravagant dates. You're spending all this money on buying these fancy gifts, but you're not talking about it to each other. I can buy you 1,000 diamond rings, but if I don't tell you I care when I hand it to you, what does it even matter? It's just an asset at that point. It holds no value other than the money that it can get you later on. There's no sentimental value. I have stuff that I hold on to dearly that I'm never even going to use. I have a fedora from my granddad because he used to wear those all the time. I don't think I can pull the fedora off. I've tried to wear it, but I hold on to that. It's his hat. Like I have ties. I wear bow ties, but I have my granddad's ties. Like I have a few of those, and I hold on to those sentimental things. But I know what those mean to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if again, it's like with me saying that, your wife, what do you mean to me? Like there is not an amount of money in the world that I would pay for a second of time. And I'm not saying away from you, like I just have to be around you every second of the day. But I mean in general of like, if today was my last day, did I really fulfill what I feel, like biblically, spiritually, and emotionally for me? Do I feel like I fulfilled that? Even in my marriage, do I feel like I fulfilled that? So if you come home from work, like the other day, I felt like I didn't get to talk to her. I was so sad because I felt like we didn't get to see each other. We still slept together in the same bed. I still told her I loved her. I still gave her a kiss that day. But because I didn't get to ask her the little things throughout her day, I felt like we didn't get to be around each other. That's what I mean by time. I
Mm-hmm.
cherish time in a different way. Those little factors of life that always seem to bog down everybody. Work, I want to say relationships with friends, because I mean, you can still have friends and have a relationship, but it's a matter of making time for your spouse. So, like,
Yeah.
if your wife's not making time for you, if your husband's not making time for you, that's something that needs to be communicated from you. If you don't say it, then they might not ever know. There's so many things that people see as normal that they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize is
That's
not
not
normal.
normal, right?
Like, man, me and my wife, she does little crafty stuff, and when we stayed in the apartment, it was upstairs, downstairs. And what seemed normal to me was I'd go upstairs, play the game, get off work, and just mind my own business. She'd stay downstairs and craft. We wouldn't really talk. We'd upstairs and downstairs. We'd FaceTime instead of just talking to each other. And then when we get into this house, it's a little smaller. It's not upstairs, downstairs, so there's no distance. We're all in talking. Like she can scream from any room in the house. I'm gonna hear her, but we're around each other more, and I didn't realize how much more I needed that. I
Mm-hmm.
needed to be around my spouse. I needed to talk to my spouse. I needed that affection of knowing that I have my spouse there. I need that. So like even
Right.
one of the love languages, touch. I I'm not a hugger, but when I could see that somebody is emotionally down, I know what a hug can do. Like I'm one of the biggest. Like if you're a we have a support group with older men, big guys. A lot of people, I'm not huge, so most guys are bigger than me. But we have guys in there, like I've told people, like a hug from a 60-year-old man who is 6'3", 250, it feels like it means more. Not just because they're heavier on you, but it's different because you're getting to see an emotional side from them as well. Somebody who you don't see that from, somebody who you see as strong. Like imagine Brock Lesnar coming up to you and saying, "Hey, buddy, I care," and giving you a hug. It's just you don't expect that. But it's the same thing that you don't expect that from them. But why is it that same feeling for a lot of people in their marriages? And it shouldn't be that way. But one of the things about love language, though, what is one thing that makes you feel the most loved? And you don't have to gas me up, but like,
No.
what is one of the things that makes you feel the most loved? It doesn't have to be an action for me. What makes you feel the most loved?
Yeah, so just even speaking with the love languages in general too, like for me, my love language is absolutely words of affirmation. And I want to say it as well, like you said you wasn't a hugger. I am a hugger. I love to hug everybody. He always says like I'm like a marshmallow. I love hugging too. So just because your love language might be different than your spouse, that doesn't mean that you can't still communicate effectively and still do, what you need to do to show them love. That's not my number one though. My number one is absolutely the words of affirmation. Like for me, more than any gift you could give me, more than any, present that he could buy me, him to tell me that he's proud of me, for him to tell me like great job. And he's really good about this. And I will say like letting me know that I'm a great teacher. Like he always makes me feel like I am the best teacher in the world. He encourages me, he uplifts me. So like him saying those words to me are so important because that's how I operate. That's how I feel loved. Like if I feel seen, if I feel heard, if I feel like I have a voice, if I feel like I'm important and I matter, that to me is my love language. So when he tells me like good job or tells me that I'm a great teacher, that alone, just somebody tell me that they're proud of me, that is such a big deal for me. And he does a really good job of that for sure.
Well, I mean, I don't just say it because I don't know, I'm genuinely proud of everything you do. I'm her biggest supporter, but like just I don't want to like boast for you, but like the accommodations you get, like whatever you want to call them, like you are a very skilled teacher. You've been nominated for various things. You have one of the strongest growth patterns in, I want to say, their school history, because even though they don't give you enough credit like they should, uh, you have a different type of care. And that's what I've seen it in a relationship. I see it in the kids. And that's what I'm jealous that I didn't get to have a teacher like my wife as a kid. But she carries that same type of care throughout her entire life. It's not something that's shielded. It's not something that's hid from me. And that's what a lot of people are missing. So like the relationship of my buddies and them that were coming to me for relationship guidance when they could have just been talking to each other. And I noticed that. I even tried to explain that to them, but like they would get in the same room and not talk. And they had a kid. They wouldn't talk to each other. Like how does that, like if you're repulsed by the other one, what is making you repulsed by them?
Mm-hmm.
If you're struggling to talk to them, why don't you want to talk to them? If it's as simple as their breast stinks, tell them that. Like it's like there's little things that you can say. Now it's a matter of like I get it, abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard topic. It's hard to tell somebody that does that, that is an abuser, that is a mean person. It's hard to tell somebody like that to open up. It's hard to tell somebody like that you're struggling to open up to them because you never know how they're going to take it. So again, that's why there are lines that I do believe cross the boundaries of a comfortable marriage and divorce and things like that. I
That God can redeem and you
God,
need to get out of. Like, but
yes,
absolutely, please do not stay if
yeah.
it's something like that, because God can restore and redeem all things. But we are not talking about if it's reached a point
If
like you
you're
said, cross the line where it's time to go.
I've said it on other podcasts on the conspiracy guys, so I don't want to say it on this. I'll say it on this. I don't really care. If you're a man and you put your hands on a woman, you're a chump, you're a punk, you're a female dog. Like there's words I would rather say, but I have this lovely Care Bear next to me that I can't. I don't like to speak like that around her, especially not in front of the church people. But I was raised rough, so I got some vile words for some guys that do that, just because you're putting yourself in such a lower position. Uh, I don't think my wife would ever be able to take me in a fight. With that same thought, why would I ever put my hands on her? It's like bullying. Why would you bully your spouse? Why are they your spouse if you want to bully them?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're dealing with emotional abuse, literal physical abuse,
And
if it's
sexual abuse
sexual, yeah,
can
absolutely.
also be
Even
in
in a marriage,
Yes.
yeah, it's wild. But if you're dealing with that, I would assume you can go about the sexual. Well, I don't really know what the law can do that, but physical abuse. Uh, I'm really big on therapy. I'm real big on talking yourself through it. I'm real big on trying to have somebody else explain it to you so that way you can understand what you're trying to talk through. Physical abuse is past that point. I don't believe that, I believe people can change.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly believe Jesus can change somebody's life 100% around. And I speak that across the entire board, regardless of what you're dealing with. I'll even go as far as to say, like, being a lifetime abuser, uh, not sexual abuser. I do believe God can save you, but you're gonna have to do that on your own because I ain't gonna help you. I mean, I'm gonna point you in the right direction, but man, if you're one of those, like, you're your own class of evil, and
Mm-hmm.
I hold a level of disrespect that I probably shouldn't. It's probably not biblical, but I do not like anything like that. And I hope you get the best and go to heaven. I hope give your life over to Jesus and change your life. But for your actions before then, I wholeheartedly believe you should be beat with a sock full of quarters. So, like, I can only speak about that so much. I'm sorry, my lovely wife's in here. Well, that stuff, it bothers me because kids are vulnerable. Your
Yeah.
wife's vulnerable. Everybody that's in a weaker position,
And men can be abused as well.
oh yeah, men can be abused. I know man. I don't want to tell too much, but
Yes,
I
just
know a guy who's been abused by a female. I'm not saying that in an arrogant way as to it's like, oh man, you're a punk, man. You can't let that woman hit on you. I say that as the fact of I'm a small guy. I'm not big. This guy was a lot smaller than me, and if you're a lot smaller than me, then it's not hard to find a woman that's bigger than you because I'm not bigger than most women. So this guy was in a relationship with a chick that was bigger than him, and she was raised rough, and he was raised soft, and it was just a bad scenario because he didn't want to get out of it because, again, the Bible doesn't speak about divorce, and it does in a few instances, whether it's infidelity or little things like that. It does. That's an okay thing to do, but it doesn't say that it's something that has to be done. That's why what we're saying about the repair thing. Why is that a common occurrence? Like right now, me and my wife, we're talking about the positive things that we do with each other, talking to each other, just marriage in itself, but talking to each other. Something as simple as just opening up and communicating.
I
We do
have
this.
one thing to say too about communication.
Yeah, go ahead.
The silent treatment is not healthy.
Oh, it's
That is
stupid.
a form of communication. Silence is a response. It is not a good one, and that is crazy to me. We have never operated that way, no matter how mad we are at each other. I cannot imagine, but there are people that deal with that, and they will give each other silence treatment for days. Like, you cannot fix anything if you're actively not speaking to each other, trying to get to the bottom of it. To me, it's that's my own opinion. It's childish because it's like you are choosing not to speak. I work with 5-year-olds. That is something that they don't want to use. We say to 5-year-olds, use your words and talk and communicate. We got to say that to our spouse. We've got to say that to whoever we're in a relationship with. We should be able to use our words and be able to talk and communicate.
Now, I don't know if you remember, you might remember. I don't know. The one thing I used to say is we're going to figure it out before we go to bed. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't matter how long it takes. If we're up to 3 in the morning, we're going to figure it out before we go to bed. Because if we go to sleep on it, then tomorrow's a new day.
I think the Bible even talks about like don't let the sun set on like grudges and stuff like that anyway. So
Yeah.
like biblically too, like we should not just let something go. Now I'm not saying if you're dealing with the issue and you need time to work on it, of course, please take space, things like that. But like doing it purposely, maliciously, just to know like I ain't ever talking to them,
Yeah.
it's a different level of like pettiness. And that cannot create a healthy environment. So
All right, for all of y'all tuning in, we are coming up on an hour and 20 minutes, close to the hour 30 mark. I do want to go ahead and give you all another rundown. This is Alex with the Testimony Podcast. We share stories of hope, transformation, growth that comes from a different type of field, whether it's faith or determination on your own. We are sharing stories of people that are trying to grow their life, grow their relationship with the Lord, grow their faith, and just grow themselves. You can't better yourself if you don't try to better yourself. What's the phrase that I always say that I'm drawing a blank on because I'm trying to think of it? If you don't know, you won't grow. If you don't ask, you'll never know. So you have to reach out. You have to try to better yourself. That's what we share here at the testimony. So like even sharing this marriage episode, whether you're on the down skirts of your marriage or you're just having the best marriage you've ever thought you could experience. Your life is just absolutely perfect. Your marriage is perfect. Uh, I hope this is something that's really reaching out to you because communication is key. Love language is a big part of your marriage and your spousal relationship. Whether it's simple as touch, a hug, or just something like saying "I love you." Communication. You're opening up to these people. You're being vulnerable, and you're trying to make sure that they know that you care. And one of the things I'm going to go ahead and dive back into the episode. We're going to finish it up. We're about three-fourths of the way through. We'll finish it here in about 15 minutes. But the third topic I want to talk about, and it stressed me out so much whenever I was trying to find these searches, and the topic that pulled up was how do I know if my marriage is over? Culture teaches if it's hard, it's over. I had two concussions in high school. My senior season, I got a concussion, and instead of finishing out the year, yes, it was probably safer to do exactly what I did and decide to not play. But I also did not like playing in the cold. I hate the cold. We had a snow here in Arkansas a few weeks ago, and I actually built an igloo. So I'm trying to overcome little things that I do not like. It's like being out in the cold. But even then, though, because it was hard, because I did not like the pain of being in the cold, because I did not like going to after school practice, because I did not like staying and doing these things, it was over for me. So I just went to practice. I didn't play. I didn't participate. I was just there for the ride because I had played my entire high school career. I was waiting for baseball to happen. But the same thing in your marriage. A lot of people see that, and if it's hard, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're struggling, if we're arguing, and we just don't know how to get to the bottom of it, because we're not trying, then it's automatically over. And that's what I do not like about the world these days. Like you were talking about your phones, or like the phones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it because a lot of people have so much stuff, like the porn. It's so readily accessible. It's so easy to get to. Just like the help that you're completely overlooking. You reach out for these things that seem so common. You reach out to these things that are, what's the word? Convenient. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Convenience is not for your marriage. A marriage is not convenient. Like I've never met a marriage everything is supposed to be exactly how it's supposed to be. Like two completely different people. Unless you're twins, and again, the Bible speaks against that too. You can't get married to your twin. But unless you've been raised around somebody their entire life, you won't know everything about them. Stepping into a new relationship, stepping into marriage, you're gonna be learning every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So like the question, how do I know if my marriage is over? I do not like that. Because if you're at that point, I don't want to say that it's already over. There's always room for repairing your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But why are you not asking your spouse? Why are you not going to, of all people, why not going to a therapist? Because I promise you, Google is going to point you in the direction that brings in the most revenue, whether it's going to point you into a therapist that pays for an ad or it's something like, you have to understand that what you're doing, everything that you touch that involves electronics is also involved with money and profit. So if you're searching these things, the main like Amazon search, you're trying to find something. I promise you, if you have Temu downloaded, if you search any product, you're going to get 15 Temu ads for a product that you're not going to find on Temu for cheaper. Like, it didn't make sense. Like, if I'm looking for a Toro sprayer, a nozzle, it's not going to pull up directly Toro sprayer unless I type in Toro sprayer. But if you're trying to search marriage topics to fix my marriage, that's all you're going to find. But those top searches are going to be who pays the most ad revenue. So who can get the top search? Who can get that first click? It's all about money. I look at everything literal to a T. So like, why would I go to Google, a place who profits off of ad revenue and stuff like this, to give me the right information? The Bible is a living word. It's with us from 2,000 years ago, like it is today. It grows with us. It knows with us. The word speaks to us, and just like it will until the end of times. But you have to study that. That's my instruction manual. So again, like searching these topics, I get it. If you're on the ropes, you have no idea how to fix your marriage, you don't know what to do, you're already trying to fix it in a sense. You're doing research. You're looking in the right direction. Uh, I don't want to say the right direction. The right direction will be to go talk to
Mm-hmm.
your spouse. Talk to your spouse.
I think people are embarrassed, and that's why they do Google, because that way you don't have to admit to a person. And again, like you said, your phone is so called private. You're able to just Google these things, ask these things, and then hopefully maybe you'll get a good answer. But then here's the thing, everything that you're consuming, it might not lead you in the right direction, because that's why we have to go to God, like you said, because what the world tells you or what your phone tells you might not actually be something beneficial. Like he said, it's going off of what you've searched before. It knows, like, our phones know way too many things actually about us. But I think that's why people are desperate. I think's the word at that point. I think when you reach a point of desperation and you're Googling these things, you're asking Chat GPT, you'd rather like talk to robots in a sense than talk to either your spouse or even talk to a pastor or a counselor or therapist. And I think there's that level of either shame or guilt or embarrassment where people just don't feel like they can talk about marriage, because it's almost like a taboo topic, I guess, to not have. Everybody thinks you get married, it's fairy tale, it's honeymoon for the whole rest of your life. And that's not true, because when kids come, when stress comes, when work, jobs, people lose jobs. Like, what do you do then when life really hits the van? You have to have something to be able to talk, because at the end of the day, it's just us two. And how are we going to get through that?
Oh, like even as a man, like I know men who are in their 60s whose spouse has never seen them cry. What do you gain from that? Like, I'm tough. Like, I don't. You're hiding your emotions from somebody who is. I don't want to say the one person that can help, because God can help you through anything. But the one person that is directly in your life, physically sitting next to you, not just spiritually and emotionally, but physically sitting next to you that you can talk to, is your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And to go around that, to not try to talk to them, like
That used to be you
exact. That's what I'm saying.
years and years ago.
I used
Like,
to.
he would not have opened up about things. So to see it now, it's wonderful to have that level of vulnerability, because I think as women, we want that. But men do not get that all the
Well,
time at all.
like I said a while ago, I thought I was tough. That's the word. I'm tough. I want to say tough, but I don't want to say prideful. That's what I probably should say. Is prideful.
Yes, absolutely.
I was tough. I was really prideful, is what it was. I didn't want to put my pride down and open up to the lady who was right next to me. As an adult man, the one thing that broke me down more, like even now, get on this camera and talking to y'all, it doesn't bother me as much, but was crying, shedding a tear in front of my wife. And I say wife because she had seen me cry at funerals here and there in high school. But to sit down and actually talk to my wife, to open up to her about my past, to make amends, to just hold myself accountable and then cry about it to her, to let her see me be emotionally vulnerable. You know, on here, in the research, it says it takes strength and courage. Courage, yes, but I really feel like it just means putting that pride down and letting other people see that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
before crying in front of my wife, to me it felt more comfortable to cry in front of another man, which, yeah, that's perfectly fine. If you're there for support, I get that. But this is my wife, and I'm scared to be a person who's seen every single piece of my body. I'm scared to let see a tear come out of my eye. Why is that?
And I think that moment of brokenness, though, is where healing began, though, too, in our marriage as well. Because being vulnerable and open up, and transparency, too, is the word.
Yeah.
Like, not just being honest, but being transparent and fully doing that also is where the moment where a shift happened, not a shift happened in our marriage, to where healing could begin, where we actually could talk. And now, if you was to cry tomorrow or over an episode on something, like, you know what I mean, like, any reason now for us to cry, it's no big deal and it's common. And I really think we should be able to share our emotions, no matter how big or small, happy, sad, all those things. Like, we got married to share our life together, so why would you not want to share those aspects and
But
celebrate with each other?
glad you said it that way. So, like in the research I was doing with Tim Keller, and in his book, The Meaning of Marriage, it reminds us that marriage is a covenant. And before I was doing research, my wife, Kaylee, actually said that. She was talking about how marriage is a covenant. And Scripture says that marriage is a covenant. I mean, I'm not just taking a vow. I'm stepping into. We are now one being.
In
Not
front of God, yeah.
not. I'm not attached at her hip, but spiritually we are one. That's that you're stepping into a higher role than you could ever imagine. So, like, to feel like you are at a point to where you can't be fixed, you're already spiritually one. You took the step. You had the vow. You took your vows. Like, y'all are already spiritually one. That can be fixed. You are one. You I don't want it to sound so gloomy when I say this, but if you're that one, do you want to commit suicide and end your marriage? Why would you want to do that when you can fix yourself? I was at the point in my life, I have tried to take my own life. I've been at the point of suicide. I've been at those, but that was my decision. My decision to stay and dwell in that too. So, like, had I not made the effort to try to fix that, had I not made the effort to talk to my wife, this is my wife, been together since high school, almost 14 years. And it took, and we've been married for almost 7. So it took, I literally spent 7, 8 years not even opening up about my emotional side. I'd be at funerals trying to hide tears.
Hmm.
At funerals trying to hide tears.
And that's the one place it should be acceptable. But I think there is a stigma with men too. You know, like I feel like that's the way society has made it as well. It's like you have to be tough, you have to be the provider, you have to do these things. You can have these soft moments, but if you can't be soft with your wife, then who can you be soft with? You know what I mean? Like we have to be able to talk and see those parts of each other, whether they're good, they're bad, they're ugly, whatever you. I mean, we chose to, like it says, for sickness and in health, for richer or poor, for all of those things. I think people just, we say those things as tradition, like when you do get married, but people don't see it that way, that it really is a covenant. It is a promise. It's something that you went into. I think the big word is commitment. Like, it's there's that level of love, but there's so much more too that you're going into. And it's choosing each other every day, choosing to be with each other and to make it better. So
That's true. I'm glad you said it that way too, though. So it kind of leads into what Gary Thomas was talking about in his book, The Sacred Marriage. But Gary Thomas asked in the book, but what if marriage is meant to make us holy more than happy? So, like I said, spiritually, we are one. Uh, when you step into that role and you take those vows, you become one under God. Like you are now, in a sense, one being.
mm,
So, like, doing little infidelity, you're chipping away at that one being. You're
mhm,
tearing something apart that has become one. You're not two different people anymore. Physically, yes. Like, I can't pinch myself and expect her to hurt, but I also can't talk bad on myself and let it be emotionally seen, visibly seen, and not expect it to affect her. We are one now.
mm,
I can't not talk to her and expect it to not affect her. But like in the book it says that, but another quote that he says, and again I'm having to reiterate these into my words, so it's not copyright. But hard seasons don't always mean it's over. Sometimes they mean growth. A lot of the times, it says sometimes. A lot of the times, it means growth.
mhm.
The hard times is what builds you. Like
Right,
scars get tougher from them being. Uh,
right.
I forget the phrase. Either way,
Like going through the struggle is what will help you
yes.
find and see how much better it is on the other side. And I want to just add too, like, I've heard people say, like, you've had two people that loved each other so much, they love each other, like, but then they end up separating, and it's because love itself was not enough. Now, of course, love is at the core and at the foundation of it, but I do think there's other parts to that too. Like to grow, you have to learn about each other, and it goes back to the seasons in your life. Like there's going to be times where he's in a season of his life where he's not doing so great. There's going to be seasons of my life where I may be dealing with grief or other stuff. Like we're carrying these things because we are one, but my baggage and your baggage together, we have to find a way to navigate that with each other. We can't just, ignore it. I think some people do that. Some people just, push it down. I mean, for a long time, people also want to put on a mask, pretend like everything's okay. But the moment where you sit down and you talk and you have real conversations is the moment where you can heal.
That's what it takes. You have to communicate. And that's a good transition point. So we're gonna start going into the basis behind why we even do this. And when I say we, I'm not just meaning me and my wife, but like hear the testimony, the whole goal behind this. Uh, like the very last question we always ask is, do you believe God made an impact in your life? The whole goal behind this is just to plant that seed of faith into you, whether you care what I'm talking about or not. If we're talking about conspiracies and you've heard me talk conspiracies for an hour and a half, and I finally at the end get to throw in, hey man, just find out who Jesus is. That's all I want. But in your marriage, it's like even with us talking about this, it's just so fast paced. There's so many different routes we can talk about, whether it's communication, love language, and all these other things. Uh, you have to slow down and think about where the problems lie, though. So whether it's communication, whether it is one of the aspects of your love language, if you're just looking for tips, like the Gapping process, the 5-1, if you're looking for little things like that, I completely understand it. The tips help, therapy helps. I feel like the biggest factor though is scripture and the way God wants us to live our marriage. So like I'm really hard pressed on my faith and the way God has turned my life around. The way that I know God can turn anybody's life around. You have to have faith that Jesus Christ is your Savior. And I'm not saying that in the cliche way that the people on my Instagram feed, I hear it all day, every day. They get on there and say that, and they get on there the next video and they're cussing and talking bad about people. And the next video they're talking about how God has changed their life. And the next video they're talking about the Epstein thing. Like you can't be a part of the church and also talk about division. It makes no sense. We are a family. The goal is to grow. I can't grow if I don't know, right? So in the same sense as I can't expect to push out division and expect anything to grow from that. Division causes, at least, whether it's, you're losing a piece of it. You're dividing it into a section. So you're losing a piece of it, regardless of how you divide it in any way. And, so you're sectioning things out. As a minister, as a churchgoer, as a body of Christ, the goal is to be a family. The goal is to be the family. You and your wife, y'all are a family. Whether you have a child or not, y'all are a family. So the things I do carries into my wife's life. The things she does carries into my life. The things my friends do, they carry into my life, but they don't have to carry into my marriage. The things that other people do can carry into my life. They don't have to carry into my marriage. The way other people carry their relationships can carry into my life, but it does not have to carry into my marriage. So that's the thing. It's my marriage, our covenant unto God.
And it's us too, but there is one more person that should be in your marriage, and that is God.
Absolutely.
And then when Jesus is at the center of it, I think that's the starting point. You know what I mean? That's how you can turn things around. God wants to be at the center of your marriage. He loves marriage. He designed it. The Bible says two is better than one. He wants us to have that. In the beginning, He created a helpmate, for Adam. So He wants us to be together, and He wants us, though, to live life in abundance. He does not want us to just live a life of just turmoil all the time. So we have to turn to Him when we need guidance.
Okay, so I'm not making the joke the way that she's probably going to see it. But so
What are
you can't say that there has not been communication from the very beginning, right? So Eve came after Adam. God expressed to Adam not to eat from the tree of knowledge before Eve was there. So Adam had to have told Eve before she decided to make her own decision and eat from the tree of knowledge, and then coax him into doing the same thing. And then now we have all of our issues. But in that same sense, Adam had to communicate from the very beginning, even to Eve, what not to do. Now, again, like the people who are choosing to take divorce as their route, choosing to end their marriage as their route, that's the same decision as to Eve stepping in there and eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil when she knew she wasn't supposed to, coaxing Adam into doing the exact same thing, knowing they're not supposed to. So they do what God specifically told them not to do. Now, like I said, there are times when the Bible speaks about a divorce, or I forget the actual term that they use in Scripture, but basically undoing your marriage. But, there's also many more scriptures that talks about your marriage being the foundation, other than the foundation you have with God, but the foundation of your life. So like in Genesis 2:24, and this is what I was saying earlier, we're going to tone this down, but I'm going to give you the scripture behind why we believe that God is the heart of your marriage, but you have to communicate. You have to take these steps. I don't believe that today's current life of people that think everything is normal with porn and relationship issues, not communicating.
Like you said, like when it gets hard, we just automatically leave. And that's the thing, like there are moments when you absolutely should leave a relationship. But then there's other people getting divorced for things that are just might look simple. And I'm not saying that those issues are simple. I'm just saying you get tired of that person. Oh, well, let's just get a divorce. Just simple things like that where it's like you could have worked it out, or you shouldn't have maybe got married in the first place. Like you have to think about this. This is a lifelong commitment. It's not just you're my boyfriend and tomorrow I get to break up with you. This is and again, it's like a legal document too. Like it's a long process. It's not just I wake up tomorrow, you're getting on my last nerves, I want to go find somebody else. Like people now in our society and our culture, it is that simple for people. It's just fast paced. We just leave them. You know, if it's hard, any little issues, we just want to move on from, and we don't want to work them out. And I think that's part of it is when it gets hard, it's easier just to leave. And I think that's so sad. It's heartbreaking because you look at it now and marriage is seen as a joke. People don't want to get married, and that's a sad thing as well.
Well, and that's you're right about that. Like that's something I don't like. I actually heard something about it not too long ago that they choose not to get married, but they live in the same house, they live under the same roof, sleep in the same bed, but it's the decision to not get married because marriage is difficult. Whether it's for a tax reason or a tax write off or for little things like that, you're still avoiding that covenant
Mm-hmm.
because of what?
And
Whether
commitment and all of that.
exactly, and it makes no sense. So uh, I'll bring in the scripture now, but like Genesis 2:24 says, marriage is a union. Matthew 19:6 says, what God has joined together, let no one separate. No one. No one. I myself was placed in front of a Jezebel spirit. God, my faith, my communication, us talking and opening up to each other, me being vulnerable, me listening to what my wife had to say, those little things strengthen our marriage, grow our marriage. Ephesians 5:25 says, husbands are called to love sacrificially. If that means sacrificing your pride and putting it down just to say, I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
literally, as a man, I don't care how tough you are, saying I'm sorry sucks, but it says it, scripture.
Mm-hmm.
They're called to love sacrificially. Lay the pride down, sacrifice your pride, ignore that, put it away. Your pride means nothing in your marriage. It means no. I'm tough, but what does it do if I'm tough towards you?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's about being open. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
That's him.
Yeah.
But that one right there. Oh, I have this
Oh yeah,
side.
but it says husbands are called to love sacrificially, like Christ loved the church. And in 1 Corinthians 13, it reminds us love is patient, love is kind, and love endures. I think I mentioned it on Facebook, or I think I was talking to one of my buddies last week. But God's never going to put something on your plate that you can't eat. You might not be able to finish it all in that one setting, but He knows that your stomach can hold it. And that's a derivative, like it's a misconstrued version of, I think it's 1 Corinthians. Uh, I get where that phrase comes from. So that's not a scriptural biblical phrase. It's a reiteration of a phrase that is talking about something different. But in the same sense as God's not going to give you more than you can bear. So I look at life like that. Like even when I'm struggling with something and I know I can go to my wife about it, or even if I don't think I can go to my wife about it, I can still go to the Lord about it. I can still put it in His hands. So like these questions that people are asking on here, is my marriage over? Why are you going to Google and not praying and asking God? That's the one person that has the answer to everything. And you'll hear it later on in the summer. The goal, we've got a few podcasters want to come down. I don't know if y'all know Tinfoil Hat, but Sam Tripoli and RGB and a few other people, Danny from the Rabbit Hole. We got a few people that are wanting to come back. I say come back. They're wanting to come to town and actually have us a big conspiracy podcast convention. So one day we'll actually get to talk about things like this. But one of the things that scares me is like AI and the little things that I feel like are going to diminish relationships, diminish people's ability to free think, diminish people's ability to communicate to each other. The fact that people feel like they have to go to Google and to ChatGPT to find out answers for their marriage instead of going to the Word, like the Bible has every answer we could ever need. It's all right there. It's a living instruction manual for the way life should be lived. It has all the answers. Why should I have to go to Google to ask, how can I fix my marriage? Why am I not asking my spouse, how can we fix our marriage? Why am I not telling my spouse the problems that I have with the marriage? Lack of communication, pride, uh, not wanting to show emotion, not wanting to be vulnerable. You got to put those down. I can't be prideful in my whole relationship and expect you to love me the way that God knows we need to love each other. It makes no sense. But marriage is one of the biggest ways God teaches us how to love like Him. We are made in His image. It's not always easy. Our marriage, regardless of how perfect people have thought it was, it has never been perfect. It might have seemed like that on paper, but in real life, it's not.
And I think that just shows that a lot of times we see people and And again, we're in a culture where we want to be like everybody else. We look up to celebrities and their relationship and all these things that we're looking at. We're scrolling, we're scrolling, we're scrolling, and it's like you are only seeing a snapshot, literally, of what their life is like. And I think it just shows that even though it might look like everything's perfect, people are struggling in all aspects of the way. And I think though you doing the testimony and doing this podcast though lets people also see that there's hope, that you're not alone as well, to know that you know you're never too far gone. You're never your marriage is not too far gone. If you're feeling that way, if you have been somebody who's Googled that or have went to Chat GPT, because we have these things and you may feel like that's the only tools you've got. I promise there is a Bible, and there is a pastor, there is a therapist, there's somebody that will talk to you, and just even if these stories come out to help somebody.
There's recovery
Yes.
groups. Until I got into recovery myself, I assumed recovery was all about addiction. There are recovery groups out there. Our church, Path of Recovery, we study books like Recovery Alive, Celebrate Recovery, a few of the AA topics. So we go over a lot of these things because recovery is across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You can struggle from absolutely anything. Like I was telling earlier about the birthday chips. These people are getting recovery chips for weight loss. Little things that people think they just wouldn't even think of. Everybody can recover. So if it's something as simple as you just need to communicate and don't know how, go to a recovery service. There might be a topic, like we host different topics every single week. So we might have a topic about marriage, we might have a topic about addiction. It might
Mm-hmm.
just be something over the one of the main basics behind it all, but like one day at a time or making your amends. You're gonna hear a topic that you can use to benefit your life. But you gotta be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You
Right.
gotta be willing to step into these environments, do the exposure based growth, the character breaker, step out of your comfort zone and into a place that you know is going to build up confidence, make you anxious, make yourself anxious. I Until I actually like crying in front of my wife, I never saw that as a possibility because, for one, to me it felt embarrassing to cry because I built this wall of I got to stay tough. People see me as this tough guy. I got to stay tough. If I cry, then I'm weak. Weakness around your
Mm-hmm.
spouse is not
That's
weakness.
even one of the topics, is the power of weakness and why it can be good to break down the walls. We can't say enough good things about recovery programs in general. They have helped us with our marriage. They've helped us with just working through things that you might not even realize you need to work on with yourself, to take accountability. It's helped us even with talking about infertility issues, knowing we're not alone, talking about just finding a way to like release the things that you've bottled up. There's freedom in talking about that, and knowing that there's hope on the other side, knowing that there's support, because I don't know if people realize that there is. I mean, marriage, that's a big one that people need to come to recovery for. And you might not think, you might wonder, where can I go instead of going to ChatGPT or Google? Please come to a recovery service. Like,
Man,
you can come and talk and you can find love and support there. And again, we don't give advice, but we can love you, we can hear you out. And I think at everybody's core, we want to be heard, we want to be seen, we want to be valued. And when you know that you have a voice and being able to talk about things, there's a weight that's lifted, a burden that's lifted. You feel lighter, you feel freedom from that, those things that were holding you down. So please, if you need to know a recovery service, we know lots of them.
oh, bro. Matter of fact, I have our website, thetestimonypod.com. I'm still trying to find somebody who can help me finish editing this thing the right way so I can get the shop up and running, so we get these more shirts sold, so we can start donating more. We have a lot of people trying to tune in. I should have pulled the QR code up on here. Uh, but again, if you want to help us, buy us a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/the testimony podcast. Buymeacoffee.com/the testimony podcast. You can find us there if you want to support the channel, if you want to help us reach other people, if you want to help this thing grow and grow. I'm having to pay for subscriptions and on top of subscriptions on top of subscriptions. So until we can cover this flat rate of subscriptions, then we can start donating and giving back. So we've already been able to donate around $500, different people and places, different, whether it's donating hoodies, donating money, donating our time or presence. We're able to give back to the community, and I want to be able to give back in better and bigger ways. So like these recovery services that need people, that need to bring people in. A lot of the times, whether it's a factor of money or a factor of time, if it's a factor of money, I'd love to be able to put that just be that foot in the door to be able to help them get a bed in a rehab, get a bed in a recovery service. a place that they know they can grow and build themselves. But that's what the testimony is about. We're trying to build these stories and grow this platform so that way we can help everybody. The goal is to help everybody. I'm tired of the phrase of people saying you can't help everybody, because I feel like it's a bold-faced lie. Because if you just plant that seed, if I could just tell you that Jesus can save your life, then I've already helped you in a way that you could never imagine. Whether that seed grows or not because you're not watering it, that's all on you. But I've planted that seed. Same thing as
Mm-hmm.
somebody handing you a Bible. Because you didn't read it don't mean it wasn't planted there. So when God asks you why you didn't read his word, and you tell him, because I didn't have a Bible, but you've had somebody give you one back 10 years ago, you've had the word handed to you, and that was probably when God wanted you to study the word. So again, if you have a Bible in your house, if you don't have one at all, it's one of the biggest assets you can have in your inventory. I encourage you to please seek out grabbing one, study it a little bit. I've had people try. I have a buddy in the Church of Christ who's adamant about starting in the New Testament compared to the Old Testament. I believe if it's the book like 100% correct, like we all know it is. I've never opened a book in the middle and went back to the beginning. It's hearsay. But again, if you're opening the Bible and you're trying to study, yes, it is hard to understand at the beginning. It's a lot of genealogy. It's a lot of uh, family lineage. There's not a lot of stories that just grab you and make you want to listen. It's a lot of who was who and why were they who they were, and who was their family and who was their family's family and who was their family's family. But it's all scriptural, it's all biblical, and it's all meant to inform us. It's living instruction, it's a living word. It follows us to the day just like it did back then. So the same thing with your marriage. If you're struggling and you don't know how to follow, if you don't know how to help your marriage, you don't have to seek out these Google questions. You don't have to seek out these therapists or divorce lawyers, because they're looking to get some money off you anyway. So if you go to talk to them, the goal is to, I mean, I've never been to one, but I would assume is to help you get a divorce. Now, if you're in a sense, we'll go ahead and get close to ending it. I'll end it on one of these. But if you're in a sense, if you're getting beat on, if you're getting abused, if you're a man and you put your hands on a woman, you're a chump. I can't say it all on here because we have people from the church, but you're a female dog in a way that if you're around the people I know, it wouldn't be okay. We don't believe in that. You don't put your hands on somebody weaker than you. And if there's a woman that's around you that you feel like it's an okay thing to do, and you try to justify it in your head, there is no justifiable reason before that. I don't know if you're that bothers me. No bueno. Uh, but again, if you're in a scenario like that, I don't expect you to want to repair your marriage. If there's somebody that's already put enough wounds on you to feel like you have to go talk to somebody about those wounds physically, get out of it while you're ahead.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
what we say in recovery. If you are going to harm yourself or harm others, like if someone's going to harm you or you feel like you could harm yourself because you've got to the point that it is so miserable, if there is a form of danger or threat or emergency there, then that means that sometimes there's not repair there. It needs to be a obviously leave, and God can redeem and restore, and he can find better for you out there for sure.
So the last thing I want to leave you with, instead of Googling these repair tips, these things to fix your marriage, instead of trying to find these things of how can I put this thing back together when it should have never fallen apart in the first place, just try to do these three things. I see a few people in the chat. A couple of them are pullable in different places. I think I see one on Rumble or YouTube. I don't know, but is it David? Shout out to Mesa Photographies. Is that what it's called? It's
I think
David.
so. It's David. Hi, David.
Mesa Photographies. If I'm saying it wrong, David, throw your photography information down in the comments so people can find you. But he's a photographer that he's actually, I'm not sure if he started yet or not, but he was talking about starting a podcast in his own. I'd love to get him in the group chat with us here, but we're all conspiracy podcasters too, though. So like it's a little different. But he's trying to bring on people that are in the same field as him, trying to pursue photography,
Mm-hmm.
trying to pursue what people don't visualize. Like I have a vision for this thing, but until I can get the right cameras and the right producers in here, I'm not gonna be able to have that vision. He actually wants to bring people on that share what they do to bring that vision to life. And
Wow.
it's pretty neat. So I'm not really sure if he started yet or not, but if he has or hasn't, if you're listening still, David, throw that information down in the comments. I'm pretty sure the people would love to hear you too. If you're new to Rumble, I encourage you to seek out a live Rumble audience. It may not look big, but after a few days, I'll get a message from somebody. We always do. And the one thing that they always tell me is that just continue to plant the seed. That's the goal. So whether it's just by this marriage tip, marriage guidance, or little things that we put in here, the one thing that I want you to take from this is that you should study the Word. You should put your faith in the Lord. You should not give up on a marriage that God made one. Uh, y'all are together in this till death do you part, and I
Mhm.
believe that, and I say that with that strength on the word death, till death do you part. That doesn't mean stick around until your marriage is the death of you. So if you have somebody putting their hands on you, again, I expect and I push for you to reach out for to law enforcement,
Yes.
anything you can do to keep that from happening to you. Physical abuse is not a thing that anybody should go through, whether you're a child, adult, woman, man, anything like that. So if you're a woman, man, uh,
Any abuse in all forms.
any abuse, emotional, sexual, physical, any abuse, reach out to somebody. Tell them. I don't like somebody saying be a snitch, but man, snitch all over that. Tell on them. Tell me so I can go tell on them. Like I'll be the teller for you. I'll snitch for you. I'm not a fan of physical abuse. I'm not a fan of any type of abuse, emotional, spiritual, any type of abuse that you're dealing with that you know is going to cost you your life before the actual before God is going to take your life at the end of it. If you are around somebody that's doing that to you, I expect and I push for you to seek out guidance and help, not from Google, from a therapist and from law enforcement for one. But the things I want to leave you with before we get off of here, we're coming up on the end of, yeah, we're right there. We got 3 minutes left. So we're coming up on the end of the live. We usually have between an hour and a half and 2 hour episodes, and I tried to fill this up. I'm so blessed to bring my lovely wife on here for the first episode of her getting to show her face. Now I called her a co-host. I don't think she knows this yet. I've been planning on. I just don't know when. But we're gonna have more episodes where she is my co-host on here. She'll get to talk a lot more. She'll get to show her face, and you know, I hope that the people listening, the people that listen to her, I hope you understand that whatever I say on any episode that she's not on, or the same thing that she says on episodes that she's on, we're two different people, but we are joined as one under God. You know, we made a commitment to live life together, not apart. You know, I live by that. So even if it means going to bed every night and making sure that that problem we had, whether it's she's wanting me to watch a show that I do not want to watch, and I'm just being stubborn and I don't want to hear it. If it's something as simple as that, communicate. But it's also if it's something as simple as I don't want to say simple. If it's something as hard as dealing with infidelity or marriage that's falling apart because of decisions made by one or the other, you know, seek help for that. Reach out. Go to a recovery service. Talk to your spouse about it. The one place you should start is by talking to your spouse. Uh, Little guidance though, instead of Googling how do we fix this, I ask that anybody listen to this podcast episode, episode 12, this special Valentine's Day episode. If you've got anything from this tonight, I hope that you did. Other than the seed that I planted about the word, I hope that you got something from that. But what I want y'all to actively do throughout this week, instead of seeking out the whys and the whats and who's and everything that's going on in your marriage, seek out this. These are positive things that I want y'all all to work on. But how can I love you better this week? It sounds so broad and across the board,
I love that
but think
question.
about it. Think about how can I love you better this week? So like even me, whenever my wife's asleep and she doesn't know, like the other day when I didn't really get to talk to her, I just snuggled up to her. That made me feel like I loved her better. Even though she was asleep and didn't understand it, it made me happy to know that I felt like I did a little bit more than I had all day. We were busy, we were away from each other, but I still scooted a little bit closer to you that night just to make sure I had a little more effort than what I usually put in. You know, and you have to do those things. So if you're listening, I ask that you try to find one thing to how can I love you better this week? To your spouse, your girlfriend, your person that you're trying to grow a life with. How can you love how can I love you better this week? Another one is how can we grow? Not, you know, you could kind of tie that into the first one, but how can we grow this? Like me and my wife, how can we grow? Me bringing her on here and her breaking down the anxiety wall of being on a podcast. It's we're helping each other grow. So I plan on her being a co-host on this episode or on this podcast eventually, but we got to break down the walls of anxiety, break down the walls of the fear behind it, and you know, open up the communication. So like that's one thing that we're doing. I brought her on the podcast for the first time. We're 12 episodes in, and this is the first time you're hearing and seeing from my lovely wife. And you know, we're trying to grow each other. So like even with her talking in front of people, she talks in front of kids all the day, all the time, but talking in front of multiple hundreds of people on the podcast. And I think it says there's 4 on here. I don't know really how many's on YouTube. I don't know how many on Apple Podcasts listen, but if there's episodes reaching in Thailand, if we're getting 100,000 views on a clip on Instagram, or if we're getting 50,000 views on a clip on TikTok, there's people that are seeing these episodes, they're seeing these clips, and I know it's making an impact because they've reached out to me. We've got a ton of new guests coming. But one of the last things, besides how can we grow, the last thing I want y'all to do, how can we pursue each other again?
Mm-hmm.
How can, like, starting fresh, open your emotions up. How can we pursue each other again? Like with me and us getting that dog and me learning how to open up and talk like a oh little puppy dog around my wife. I never would have done that had we not gotten the dog. I'm not saying go buy a dog, but I'm saying break down those walls early so you don't have to worry about getting put in a scenario where you have to do that. So like with us having the dog, I didn't have to do that, but eventually it was going to come. But had I done that before, had I cried at the funerals, had I just cried at the funerals and told her how I felt, it probably wouldn't have took me that long, a month of having a dog to talk to the dog like it's a dog. Like
Mm-hmm.
it, I'm talking to the dog like it's a human. Like, no, come on, dog. Like, instead of treating it like a puppy or an animal, I'm talking to it like it's a human because I was so embarrassed about talking to it like it's a puppy dog. Like that, you had to break down those walls. But do that. These are the three things. Again, I'll say it before we get off here. But how can I love you better this week? How can we grow? And how can we pursue each other again? Marriage isn't found, marriage is built. It starts with the foundation. You start the foundation by making those vows in a marriage. In a relationship, you start the foundation by that first step of I love you. But I think, like I gave you a promise ring, you're making that promise to be by their side until you die. And you have it starts on that foundation of I'm making that covenant of I'm going to be with you forever. When you do get married, it's there's spiritually something that happens, and you become one spiritually. And when you're there, that's the foundation. It's on your foundation is based on God and love. I want to say that, but I don't want to say it like that because it sounds cliche. But I'm going to go with what I know it's based on, and that's God. Your foundation is based on the way the Word says we should live our marriage. It's a covenant. We are together forever. We are now one, and that's yeah, she's smiling. I'm saying that in such a serious tone because I want you guys to hear that. I want y'all to know that y'all are one now. If you feel like your marriage is falling apart, seek help. If you feel like your marriage is perfect, find how to break down another emotional wall. It doesn't matter where it's at. Try to make it awkward. Make your marriage awkward for a week. Find all the things that you think are embarrassing. Like my wife's gonna hate me for saying this. If you're scared to fart in front of your spouse, fart in front of them. Do it once. Like it, you're doing things that are gonna cause you embarrassment, but you're also tearing down those walls of fear. It's called again with the character breakers that they do in rehabs all the time. But like bringing in an adult man to have do a play or sing a solo, you're doing little things that they never would have saw themselves doing. You're breaking down those walls of anxiety, and you're helping them grow.
You got to be uncomfortable to grow.
You got to be uncomfortable to grow. Now, the episode if this episode encouraged you, make sure you like, subscribe, share the episode. If it helps this message, every share, every like, every subscribe, every comment helps this thing grow more. It grows more interaction. The algorithm is based on getting clicks. So anything that it can to get people to interact. So like even you leaving a comment, even you leaving a dislike of all things will get people to watch this episode. I hope you don't do that. Please don't leave a dislike. But if this episode's touched you in any way, please like, share, subscribe, support the channel. If you want to help us out, buy us a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/the testimony podcast. Donate $5, $10. We have a subscription plan on there, and as soon as we start getting people on there, I plan on releasing daily content, not like we do on the TikToks and the clips, but literally me giving you a daily affirmation, a little bit of the word, and just breaking it down as to what's going on in the testimony. And if you're tuning in on the Rumble, if you've heard the last few weeks' episodes, I've kind of been kind of silent on there. I didn't really want to give too much away because I've been kind of putting together the advertisement for it. But we have one of the greats, another UFC great, downtown TJ Brown is going to be on the podcast. We've got I think Sam Miller coming on in the future. He's a comedian. He's not really faith based. I think he might actually be the first one to tell me no, he doesn't believe God's made an impact on his life. I don't want to speak down on him because I have no idea what he's going to say. But he's one of the ones that did tell me he's not that religious, and I assume that might be how it goes. We also have a guy who's a part of the End Days militia, a militia that started not because they want to rebel or anything like that, but because he is preparing for the end days battle. He believes God has told him that he will fight in the end days, and he is preparing a group of people, planting the seeds in them that Jesus can save their lives, but he's also preparing for the end days battle, which scares me because it makes me feel like it's going to happen a lot sooner than most, and I don't want to put that fear of God into you. But like they say, it could happen tomorrow, and then they shut the screen off. Like I could say, it could happen right, and then shut the screen off. But like it's those things right there. I don't want you to live in fear, but this guy's actively building a life ready for the end days. And I hope we're all living like that. That if Jesus came back today, that I know the way I live my life, I know with me and my 10 prayer alarms, I hopefully have made a difference, and I've made enough of an effort to get to heaven. The scripture tells me that I have, but I'm the one that does the effort. I'm the one that makes my decisions. I have my own free will, so any decision made by me is done strictly by me, and I just have to follow the path that God lays out for me. It's all up to me. Uh, but Lord, bless marriages tonight, heal what's broken, strengthen what's growing, and stay cheesy, everybody. My name's Alex. We love you all. This is my lovely wife, Miss Kaylee, as the students call her, Miss Lloyd. But we love you all. Happy Valentine's Day. Remember, marriage is just asking, what do you want to eat forever? So just get used to that. What do you want to eat, and then having no answer besides whatever you want, which
We
goes
have
back and
something good to eat tonight.
we do. We are lovely and blessed enough to say that I want to make sure we put out an episode a week. We decided not to go anywhere for Valentine's Day. We're going to have a stay-at-home dinner. I think our pastors did the same thing last night. So great minds think alike. Shout out Pastor Caleb and Sister Abby. Sister Abby, she's a pastor. Do I call her Sister Abby or do I call her Pastor Abby?
Maybe both.
Never thought
Not
about
real
that.
sure. We called Sister Karen.
First
I don't know.
Lady.
First Lady. Jenna calls her First Lady.
I'm gonna call it First Lady Abby. Shout out to
Yes.
them. But we're gonna do something a little similar. We're gonna have an at-home Valentine's Day with candles and
Some good stuff in the crock pot.
she was talking steak. I kind of talked her into a roast. We do this Mississippi pot roast. It's absolutely phenomenal. Y'all need to try it. But I love you all. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you all for tuning in. My name's Alex. Catch the channels, follow the Rumble, the YouTube. I'm gonna download this. I think it might stay on YouTube. If you're tuning into this late, I'm sorry I have my mic cut off for the first 5 minutes. I'm a little ditzy and I do things that don't make sense sometimes. So I apologize for that. Just skip past the muted section. I'll put this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts within the next couple of weeks. Uh, we're trying something new for Apple Podcasts, and I somehow managed to put duplicates of every episode on Apple, but they're getting more views now. So I think Apple right now might be the biggest follower we're going, or the most rapid follower we're going. Leave a review, leave a 5-star review on here. We've had a few leave 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast. Leave a bunch more because we're now actually searchable. Before we didn't have enough followers or searched content for it to even pop up when you type in the Testimony Podcast. Right now, I think we're behind another podcast that only posts about once every 2 months called the Testimony Podcast. So if we can just keep pumping out content, if we can keep getting 5-star reviews, if we can keep getting content, likes, and subscribes, this thing can surpass every podcast that's sharing these testimonies. Not because we don't want to overlook their testimonies. I actually want you to seek out those other podcasts as well, because if they're sharing testimonies, then they're sharing stories of people that's overcame something in their life that's made them into the person they are today. That's what we try to open eyes to. But for now, the testimony podcasts that I've seen have been strictly about their own personal testimony and how they believe their life is what can impact your life. Yes, one story can change a lot of people, but I do believe that every story, everybody has a story. Every story can change somebody. And that's why I try not to be the face of this thing so much. You see me on the podcast, on the lives, but when we do clips, you won't see me as much. And I apologize for that. If you want to see me more, go to I think it's the Testimony Podcast host on YouTube, and I'll just post all my clips there of me. But for now, stay cheesy. I love you all. My name's Alex. Keep tuning into the Testimony Podcast. We got a big episode coming next week. We actually have another live testimony, I think. I think she wants to do it live. I think she's comfortable enough to do it. And if she is, it's a lady who has stood by her husband all the way up until the day that he passed away. And it's a Valentine's Day episode. It's hard to say stuff like this, but the cheerful, the happy side of that is I know for a fact that this man went to heaven. He was saved that day. He had a car crash that night. So God was able to bless him before the aftermath came of his passing. But God put his hand out for him to follow that path, and he grabbed it as soon as God put his hand out. So he followed that path, and you never know. That's why I say, hold your loved one like this could be your last day. Like I tell all my guests when they come on here, if you're telling your story, make sure you're telling it as if you might die on your way home, and this is what you want your kids to see who you were. Live your life like that. You never know when something can happen. If God's calling you home, take that step. If this is the first time you're hearing somebody say go to church, I'm your I am your thought in your head saying go to church. This is your reason. If you were wondering like this is your sign to go to church, this is it. Go to church this week. Tell somebody you love them. It's Saturday night. Go tomorrow. Go to church. Hug somebody's neck. Tell them you're their friend. Tell them you care. My name's Alex. I love you all. Y'all stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. Stay cheesy.
The testimony